All right, that's all right, friends. Welcome. We got a special one for you. We got Twitch Rivals happening this Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Really, really cool format. It's kind of like a Pro-Am format. So if you're not familiar with golf, a Pro-Am tournament's a tournament where there's a professional player and then an amateur player playing together on a team. There are going to be 8 teams. Where there's a Magic Pro and then a popular streamer from a different game who's, Magic adjacent in some way. Teams are Aspiring Spike and, I'm going to say his name's wrong, Boros, Amy Amazonian and Lord Astalan, Maz and Tectone, Corey BMTG and Eggs, myself and Pig, Numatanami and Crunchless, Caleb DMTG and Jorbs, and Kibler and Kawa. So if you know those names, that's what's going on. Gonna be a lot of fun. Pretty unique format tournament, honestly. It's going to be a round robin. Playing amongst your groups, a game of best of one between the pro, the amateur, and then the difference in life totals with its tiebreaker if one wins or not, which is a little weird, obviously, and we have to have some discussions, gamesmanship-wise, like if there's ways to break that or not, maybe a little bit, but, we'll figure it out. It should be fun. A full round robin, 3 rounds of round robin into ahead of a top 8 bracket, which should be really fun, and then the top 8 bracket is best of 3, I believe. Decks are provided from WotC. They are standard decks. They're basically just like stock standard decks, like regular dinosaurs, Boros humans, mono red aggro, Rakdos aggro, mono blue tempo, 5-color control, Esper control, Selesnya enchantments, Rakdos midrange, Golgari midrange, and Esper aggro. So just like basically stock decks. They wanted to have kind of the decks be controlled as they knew it was coming. So the deck lists are provided to us so we can choose what deck to play, but you can't play the same deck twice during the entire round robin stage, which is going to be tough for the amateurs, honestly, because it means that like we can't just focus on 1 or 2 decks. We need to have a little bit more of a base than that. So we'll go over that. And that's basically the structure. So I have with me Pig. Pig is obviously a luminary in the StarCraft scene, full-time commentator, streamer, former pro, right? You were pro at one point, right, Pig?
Heck yeah.
Sweet. Well, why don't you introduce yourself? Say hi to everyone and let us know what's up with you.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on, Jim. Yeah, I am the perfect combination between poo-poo humor and professional commentary in the StarCraft scene. So that's my specialty. That's my niche. Used to be a pro player. I love RTS. I love strategy games. I like games that make me a little bit angry overall. Like, if a game is deep enough that it confuses me and feels a bit unfair because I don't understand it, that's what I tend to like it. I like pushing through that kind of barrier of this game seems stupid, it's unfair, and then figuring out how it works, which is kind of why I like Magic, because I have these moments a lot as someone who struggles to read the cardboard correctly.
Yeah, if that's your attitude toward games, Magic is perfect. Like, Magic is a game where you get crushed by something you get mad about, and you're like, all right, wait, how do I beat that? How do I circumvent this next time or whatever too? So cool. So what is your experience? This is going to be a coaching session basically. And, I used to do coaching and we usually always start with a kind of like a baseline so I can know where you're at. What's your experience playing Magic? Like, where are you at? We're going to do a lot of StarCraft comparisons over the course of this. So like, what would your rank MMR wise StarCraft and Magic do you think be? And give me a little bit of your background in Magic.
I would be the worst person if I'd actually paid you for coaching and rocked up and said, hey man, I really want to get good at this game. With my level of playtime and experience, you'd be like, oh god, just go play some more games. I do a lot of screw around commander games. We do during on spell table every now and then. I like to do sealed or occasional drafting. It's been quite a few sets, maybe a year since I've done a whole bunch of drafts. I've never really played constructed at all. I don't really have a big collection or anything like that. Just hop on arena once in a while or hop in for a sealed event or a commander kind of very easy pre-built sort of stuff. So when it comes to really good detailed combos and stuff, I'm pretty bad. When it comes to the what do we call it, the turn order and stuff, I tend to not play things at the optimal timing. Flash gets used in my main on my turn. I forget there's a second phase. I never attack before using all my sorceries and everything. It's just it's generally pretty fun because Twitch chat just shouts at me the whole time. But think of me as being someone who has a pretty deep experience with strategy games and very little actual knowledge of Magic outside of like a few screw around formats.
Sweet. So cool. So a lot of room to grow, basically, is the good positive coaching way to look at it.
Heck yeah.
All right, sweet, cool. So once again, this format is going to be, there are 10 different deck lists. So there's a round robin. Let me see here real fast. A round robin structure. 1, 2, So we're playing against Newmont. Okay, so we're playing 3 rounds round robin. So you're going to need to play 3 different decks at least, I think. If I'm reading the sheet here, I'm trying to figure out the structures. It's a little interesting. I'm trying to know how many decks we should actually look at, or whatever, and where to start. We're gonna start out. I think we're just gonna play a game for Sparky first. Sparky's just the bot, and like they're not gonna do much. You know, it's like playing against medium in a StarCraft melee game. So like kind of just like. And there's also no timer too, so we can kind of talk through kind of plays and basics and kind of go over. I have watched you play a little bit on your Shield before on your stream or whatever. And I would say you're definitely in the beginnerish range. Like I would say like maybe silver MMR in StarCraft, kind of like in that area. I think there's a lot of room to grow, which is great, and we can kind of work through that. And we'll start with one deck and kind of go through the basics as far as I think the most important things we're going to be looking at are kind of like sequencing, developing your mana, developing your board, turn structure, sort of stuff, and then we'll go from there. Cool.
Heck yeah, man. Let's get into it.
Sweet.
Right,
So
I've been looking at your stream, so I'm going to hop over to looking at the Discord stream now. There
excellent.
We go.
All right.
Beautiful.
And I'm going to load up, let's see, what's like the most basic deck here? Probably, we'll say Mono Red Aggro. Mono Red's like the kind of like the default, like, aggro deck, new player, play Mono Reds. It's usually one color, pretty aggressive. So we'll start there. Yeah, so let's load this deck up. Cool. So, load, download, copy for this. I'm going to import the deck into mine. All right, so you're on my screen, right? We're good to see?
Beautiful. Yep.
Cool. So basically, in Magic, as far as constructed decks go, it's you only mostly done limited. They're kind of like in StarCraft where you have build orders. Like in Magic, you have archetypes of types of decks. So most decks fall into one of the camps of either an aggressive deck, which is a deck that's trying to end the game very, very fast, a lot of cheap spells, a lot of it early attacking. There are control decks, which are the exact opposite, where they're trying to make the game as long as possible and have inevitability. There are mid-range decks that kind of operate in the middle where they have a lot of high-quality cards, and they kind of can do both, but they're not particularly good at either one. There are combo decks also. There are no combo decks in this card pool. Combo decks are usually relegated to older formats where there's more cards, where you can do kind of like crazy wild stuff. So not really an issue. So mostly it's aggro, control, and kind of mid-range. And Mono Red's a very, very clear aggro deck. So kind of like you think of like a 2-base push or whatever, something like that, or a Zergling Rush, whatever. Sort of like I have this thing, I'm going to do it, it's going to go. If it doesn't work, is there a plan B? Yeah, maybe, but not always. So Mono Red, pretty simple. A lot of creatures and a lot of burn spells. So we'll go through it fast. But Monster Sister has haste, which is a very common ability in aggressive decks. Can attack immediately. You get haste on this guy. This can recast a spell. Scoundrel's got haste also, and it can do a few different things. We'll go over the cards a little more clearly, but then some bigger hitters here in Godric and Squee. Godric is a 3/3 haster that can get flying if things come into play. Squee makes tokens, and then there are the burn spells. So Lightning Strike and Play with Fire, pretty simple, deals damage to a creature or a player. Now, when to use this on a player or creature we'll go over, but usually these are used to kill blockers. You can get an attack, but they could also be done to do that last point of damage where they're almost dead, but they kill all your creatures and you go Lightning Strike you and you're dead. So pretty basic archetype. There are obviously specific things about the cards and so on and so forth, but not too crazy. Also, very simple lands, just a bunch of mountains. One of the things about constructed that's different than limited and sealed and stuff is that you have a ton of crazy lands in your decks when you're playing 2 or 3 colors. This one's simple, just 18 mountains, a couple lands that do fun things, and that's really it. So, any questions about the deck before we start?
This is my kind of deck, mate. This is, this is the proxy 3 racks of Magic. I like it.
Exactly, perfect. So it's fun that I can use these the StarCraft analogies too. It's fun to have a second game to kind of go to and you can kind of compare things to, which is cool. So, and obviously for those who don't know, on my stream or maybe on Pig's stream, StarCraft's like my casual game of choice. I'm a pro Magic player. I've been playing pro Magic now for 15 years. Magic for 20 years, full-time Magic content for 8 years, and StarCraft's my go-to like casual game where when I'm watching a game on Twitch or on YouTube, it's usually StarCraft, usually tournament stuff. Tournament coverage or whatever. I'm a Zerg player, but I'm also super casual, and I won't watch a Terran versus Protoss game. So I am like the de facto casual StarCraft fan. So that's my angle of StarCraft. I'm like a maybe high plat, low diamond player if I'm playing a lot, but I don't play very often. So, all right. So, let's fire up a bot match here. The bot's gonna be playing a very simple, just like pre-con deck. So this is gonna be very, very easy. But the goal is to kind of just look at sequencing. One of the biggest things I think that separates, a beginner Magic player from a more experienced Magic player is kind of like sequencing, developing.
Yeah.
It's a really, really big one. And I from watching you play on your sealed decks or whatever, it's the kind of thing where as an experienced player, you almost take it for granted, where you watch someone playing who's less experienced, and you go, oh man, you could have done this or that or whatever. It's sort of like missing queen injects, not making enough drones, kind of like the basic development stuff that like a newer player might not notice. But as the game goes on, it snowballs really hard because you're not getting more resources, now you're not getting more of this, and it kind of like keeps cascading into more and more disadvantages. So that's the biggest thing to work on, I think. So opening hand here, we got 3 lands. This land's fancy, don't worry about it. We have 2 of the 1 mana creatures that give haste and the prowess ability. Prowess means that whenever you play a non-creature spell, it gets bigger. A burn spell, this is just 2 damage to anything, and a little bit of extra if you target them. And the Scoundrel is a creature that gives an ability where it's a roll in haste, and when it comes into play, you can either discard a card and draw a card, or make a treasure, or make a roll, which makes it into a 2/2, basically. So, hand good, hand bad, what do we think here?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, perfect.
This hand's perfect, yeah.
Beautiful
great
curve,
hand.
3 land, like that's pretty nice, right?
Yep. So we're going to keep, we're on the draw. So we got plains, go, so we draw a mountain, so fire it up, pretty autopilot here. Gonna play the Spear, gonna go to combat, gonna attack. Nothing too crazy here. So there are definitely turns in Magic which are autopilot, where it's just like, I have 2 mana and 2-drop, just play it. But those first few turns can kind of get things going. So opponent plays a Shrine Keeper, just a vanilla 2/2. Again, it's just starter deck, nothing crazy. So us here playing a land, and now we have a few options, right? We can play Spear and play with fire, or we can play the Scoundrel, which can be a 2/2 haste, or could, in theory, discard a card or make a treasure token. So thoughts here?
I'd probably go the Swift Spear, and then I'd go for the Play with Fire, because the Play with Fire will give them both +1/1, right? With the prowess. So then you can clear the Reaper, or the Keeper, sorry, and then just get, 4 damage on the face. So it seems like a pretty good idea for the tempo.
Yep, so I think this is great. So it's very important when you're deciding what you want to play this turn, think about your next turns also. So like that's what the basis of what sequencing is. So what happens next turn? Next we play a 3rd land. We do our 3-drop, which is great. This is a 3/3 haste, has a good ability, and they have a Scoundrel after that. So we're not putting ourselves off curve here, even though we're playing a 1-mana spell and a 1-mana spell, not a 2-mana spell, and the output is good as well. We're killing their creature, getting all the damage in, so I agree, it's great. So play this first, obviously, it has the prowess ability.
So if instead of Godric, if we had a 2-drop instead, would you consider just to keep it on curve for the next turn? Just be like, okay, I'll just play the Scoundrel for now, and then that way I know I can do, the 1-drop spell, whatever the what was it? Play with Fire?
Yep.
You could do Play with Fire and the 2-drop on the following turn, or would you still do this?
Very good. That's a very important thing to recognize, because you're kind of just like mathing out your sequencing, right? So, with your 2-drop and a 1-drop, now on turn 3, now we've used all of our 1-drops. So on turn 3, if we didn't have a 3-drop, we had 2 2-drops, we'd waste the mana, right? We'd play a 2-drop, waste a mana, and then next turn have extra mana also. So that's very good. So the sequencing you're thinking of is correct. The question is it better than playing this and getting 3 for damage now? That's a better question to ask. But I think that you're right on right now. Like you're in the perfect ballpark of what sequencing is, and that's great. So, but yes, I think because the 3-drop makes it easy. If it was a 2-drop, we'd still have to think about it, kind of weigh our options either way. I think this is still really good though. This is just, kill a thing, attack for 4, get in the board. We need to be aware now that like we don't have any more removal spells. They play a bigger creature, we can't kill it. But this is still good too. So they play a Hallowed Priest. This is a creature that gets bigger whenever they gain life, but it's very small by itself. We draw a land, and this is a pretty easy spot here. Just play the best thing on curve, play the Godric. This has an ability where called Celebration, where if 2 or more non-land permanents have come into play under your control during the turn, it gets a big boost. So if you play 2 creatures, or you play a card like this, which makes an extra thing on top of it, it will trigger, but for now it's just a 3/3, which is good. All of our attacks are good here. We can jam and just send it. So.
Nice.
Ooh, okay. We got Tactical, and so opponent played, they blocked with the 1/1 and played a combat trick called Tactical Advantage. Blocking or block creature gets +2/+2 cards. Terrible. Wow. This isn't actually a real Magic card. This is like a starter only card. But so they played this thing and they blocked. Now, how did that block work out for them? So they played the Priest.
So it's still a 2-for-1 trade, right? So
exactly.
Obviously, they killed a higher value card, so like mana, it kind of evens out. But in terms of card value, you're ahead.
Right. Very perfect. Exactly. So they also played. So they did that. And now they've played a Fencing Ace, which is a double strike creature, so 1/1 for 2. And they put a Pacifism onto our creature, which means it can no longer attack or block. Basically killing it. So this guy's double strike, which means it deals first strike damage and regular damage, kind of like a 2/1 basically. We got Swifty. we got the land here, the Scoundrel, and the Play with Fire. So play the land, which is fine. So Scoundrel, again, this card's a little weird. So 1/1 haste. When it comes into play, discard and draw, or make a treasure, or make a wicked roll, which is like an aura. Have you seen these from the drafting in this set?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay, so it basically makes
I haven't drafted this set yet.
Okay, it makes an aura that goes onto it and gives it an ability. So it'll be a 2/2 creature, and then when it dies, they lose 1, and it is also a permanent too. So for example, a Scoundrel that puts a roll onto it would count as 2 things coming in for Godric. So
okay,
little extra value there too. So so you can play this as a 2/2 haste. And so what are we doing here? So we have this guy's a 2/2 haste possibly. We have the Play with Fire, which does 2 damage. And then the land here is not relevant, really. We'll discuss that later. So what are we thinking?
Yeah, I think we play with Fire the Fencing Ace, but I don't know. It's because it's such a low value card. I'm kind of like, but the double strike is annoying, especially with combat tricks that could come out with it. Though it doesn't have land, they don't have land open right now, so it's not a concern. I feel like because we're playing a tempo deck, you kind of just play with Fire the Fencing Ace, and then you just throw the Scoundrel out and make it a 2/2 and just keep attacking.
So I think that's good. That would work out fine for us. But we could just be better here also. So Scoundrel's a lock. Right? We're playing with Scoundrel. We're gonna make it a 2/2 because we don't really need to make a treasure right now. And then discarding a card's not really worth it either because this land's fine. So make the roll. It's 2/2. Now we could just kill this, attack for 4. That's fine. It's not terrible. But a better thing we can do is just attack, right? Because this is an instant. We can do it whenever we want to do it. So we can just kind of chill, see what they do, right? So right now, if this thing were to block either of these creatures, it would be a trade. So we do 1 first strike damage, then we do a regular damage, and this would die or that would die. If they block this thing, we can play with Fire.
Sorry, continue. Finish. My bad.
All right, so if they block this thing, we can play with Fire 1 and prowess it. If they block this thing and they kill it, it would trade. They take 1. This is still in play. We still have this. It could go either way, honestly. You know, it's kind of like, is this more valuable now or later? Also, if they block here, we could target them, and this would grow, and we get more damage output as well. So could go either way. I think actually we probably try to kill it. I want to point out the possibilities or whatever there, but I think because it would trade with this, trying to keep the creature in play, so we'll just kill this. So wanted to kind of go over it though, talk about it. So kill that.
So like if you do swing and then they block, but then you pull out your instant, you kill it. Does your damage still go through to the player's face, or does
no? If it has trample, no. The idea would be that if they block the Swift Spear, we could shoot them rather than the creature itself and get 2 extra points of damage by using it as a trick that also damages them rather than killing it directly.
Oh, because the combat trick would mean you wouldn't die, right? Because you'd still have 1 life left. Yeah, because of the prowess. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. So the goal is just looking for spots where you can use your spells for more than what you could get out of them normally. But in this case, they'd probably just block this and it would just trade. So we just want to push the damage through instead. So we'll get in, attack for 4. Now they're at 9. We are running out of gas, but so are they. And then we have a... that was a good draw. So we have Soka's on here. This is a land that has an ability where you can pay 4 mana, and you can just get rid of it, and you get 2 1/1 spirits. So it's kind of like a land. It's like a mountain that has some extra value. So later in the game, which is cool. We would probably be interested in doing that if we didn't draw this card, which has a lot of words on it. 2/2 haste for 2, and then you can spend extra mana when you cast it and use it to flashback spells in your graveyard. So it's 2 to play, and then 3 to do that each time. So with our 5th land, we can play this. Use the ability, it gets a little bigger, we can cast a spell for free, which is like insanely good. So this is the kind of card you can play on turn 2, just get some damage in, or later in the game, it's a card that can also get some value as well and kind of help you out when you're behind a little bit or trying to close the game out. So that was a great draw.
Oh, and you could even flashback multiple cards if you've got the mana, right?
Yep. Yeah, so this is the kind of card where
cool.
When you're playing, aggressive decks want to have cards like this where they are good early, just play it, attack, whatever, it's fine. But if things go late, it's not just some random 2/2 for 2 that can't do anything else. You know, this has a pretty big upside overall. So
that's cool.
All right, so as pay the mana, we're gonna pay the mana. Look at the graveyard. Play the fires here. Hit one of those. Cast it. Go to the face. This has an ability where if you target them, you get to scry once, which is kind of cool. So scry top or bottom. This card it doesn't actually matter if they're dead, I think. So yeah, so that's fine. Top it and then attack. We're good to go. So. Obviously, very little of our opponent kind of fighting back there, but basic things. So, we'll top of the ladder, play a real game. Cool?
Heck yeah, man.
Cool.
That's awesome. This is great.
All right, so
I've just been notified there is a scam bot in my Discord running rampant and no mods are online. No worries. We will ban them very quickly, guys. Sorry.
scam bot, jeez. All right, I'm sorry.
Oh, you can earn 50K or more on a monthly or weekly basis, depending on your preference. Well, actually, maybe I should give this phone number to you, Jim. You keen for this? This sounds like a good deal, man.
What's the deal? I missed it.
You can earn 50K or more on a monthly or weekly basis. You know, you're allowed to reimburse me 10% of your profit when you receive it.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Apply. Here's my WhatsApp. Let's go.
That's a lot of money. All right, so Fire and Air, an actual match. So we'll do ranked. We'll just do best of one. Because that's fine. It's best of one. I play best of three almost entirely on stream, and because it's like the tournament format. Folks that play best of one also, but this is going to be a best of one tournament. There are no sideboards, so we'll just kind of not bother with that. So it's fired up. I'm in platinum currently. The ladder just reset. So all right. So on the draw, we got Mountain. We have the Scoundrel, the Play with Fire, and the card. This is a kind of an interesting card. This is a Kamano faces Kakazan. This is a Saga card, so it's an enchantment. Comes into play. It goes through the chapters each turn. So when you first play it, it does one to them. When the next turn, it makes your next creature better, and then the third turn, it flips over into a 2/2 haste.
Sick.
Cool. So, how does that look? Keep mulligan.
I would. Yeah, I feel like we probably want to mulligan, right? Because I feel like we need to have more stuff and creatures coming out earlier more reliably.
I agree the hand's not great, but it's not bad enough to mulligan, I don't think. And then also our opponent's mulliganed as well. So when your opponent mulligans, you can be a little more lax in your mulligans because you don't want to... There's a big thing in a card game like I call Risk of Ruin, where like if we mulligan and just have no lands, and the mulligan have no lands, we just lose. So like the spots where you are very likely to do good, but there's a chance you might. You can try to mitigate that a little bit. So this hand's, it's not great. You're definitely correct, but it's fine. You know, it's got one drop, a two drop.
It's very playable. Yeah.
You know, we'd love it if one of these lands was one of those cool lands that did something, but for now, it's all right.
I think I've played so few of these like aggro decks. My mindset is literally like, I want a 1-drop, a 2-drop, a 3-drop, all creatures, and then like, you know, like I want like the 3-land. I just want like it to all be mapped out perfectly because I just have so little experience with aggro decks. So I'm like, as long as we just mulligan until we have a good start. But obviously, if you mulligan twice, your win percentage is terrible, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that it depends on the format too. Like there are older formats, like in Legacy and Modern, like where the formats are really, really, really powerful, and you would send a hand like this back because you need your hand to be really good, and your decks are capable of doing so much stuff that like you don't mind being down one card because the card's so powerful, you know. So it's definitely contextual. The newer the format is, the less likely you are to mulligan in that sense. But mulliganing is still very important, and I'm glad you had the instinct to think that like maybe we can do better because the most common thing is most players don't mulligan enough. So that's good. So play the 1-drop, pretty easy. They take 1 damage. And then now this will pump up our next creature also. This is going to be a 3/3 haste for 2, which is pretty good. Opponent plays a Scout. This has the Explore ability, where when it explores top card, if it's a land, they draw it. If it's a non-land, it gets bigger. So now it's 2/2. They play a land, bin a card, it's fine. We draw an Adversary, which is a good card to have because now we have 5 lands is probably too many, but this card can help us out later too. So, play our Mountain, and what do you think?
Sorry, I was muted. I think we've got to stay on curve and check down the Charming Scoundrel and make it a 2/2. But arguably, we could throw away one of the mountains to dig for a different card, but I think just having a 2/2 out should be fine.
Yeah, the discard a card, draw card mode is very, very rarely used because when you do that, you're making the Scoundrel into only a 1/1. And like, it would be a 2/2 here, but like you're losing a lot of the value of this card being an actual creature. And like you're not gaining a card, you're just rummaging at cards. It isn't even that good. So pretty often. This is most of the time it's going to be a 2/2 with a roll on it. You know, just kind of beating, getting down. So it's 2/2 thanks to the Kamano. Gets the roll, attack for 3.
3, yeah.
Great draw.
Nice.
All right, so they're gonna play Twists and Turns. This is a card that also explores. A lot of words. I feel like one of the things that we also Magic players don't realize is those cards are just so wordy these days. There's like a novel on both sides of this card. But basically,
yeah,
it explores. It makes their explorers a little better. The backside doesn't matter. So just all you can skip. So they play this. They explore.
Essentially, it's just an extra scry before their explores, plus the initial explore when it first comes out, right?
Right. So they played it and explored.
Okay.
They hit a land, so it did not grow into a 3/3, which is huge for us because if it was a 3/3 right now, we'd be a little in trouble. But now it's a 2/2.
Yeah.
So we got a land, and now what is question?
Okie doke. Well, I mean, we definitely want to pull out the adversary at some point. Is it worth pulling? I mean, it's just a 2/2 on its own. We don't have any spells that it can bring out with that ability. The etching doesn't have haste, does it? It can't attack this turn.
It does.
Oh, it does? Okay, cool. All right, yeah, I think we'd just swing with both and use play with fire to take out the scout before it can block.
Yeah, the big question here is, do we cast the adversary or not? Do we save it for later, or do we cast it now? I think we just cast it now.
Okay.
We could wait till turn 5. We have 5 lands and make it bigger or whatever, but this is a really good shot to just, like, get in, deal a bunch of damage, keep them off the board, us on the board, and now, like, this is an attack for 7. So now they're already at 9.
Oh, I forgot the adversaries are haste as well. Everything's haste in this deck, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, it just gets in. Right. So so now they're at 9.
Awesome.
We have this thing when it dies. We'll put them to 8. And then we have 7, 6 right here. And then if they play one big thing, we can just act with everything anyway and kind of push through the damage. So there comes a spot where the red deck stops caring about cards and starts just caring about, okay, can you just die? You know, like, I'm just going to kill you. I don't care what I have left because you're just going to die. So good turn for them. They played a good-sized creature. And they put a fight spell to kill one of our creatures.
If we had a land open, we would have played the play with fire immediately to finish it off, right?
Probably yes. Yeah. So draw Swifty. Gonna play our land, and then now what? This is the fun question. So it's 3/4 makes a map when it attacks. Does have vigilance though, which is important. So it will attack and block.
Yeah. So it's a 3/4. I mean, he's down to 8. If we bring out the Swift Spear, and then, yeah, we definitely want to swing with everything because the play with fire can buff the Swift Spear into range of killing the Sentinel. So, yeah, we want to swing with everything and then use the play with fire reactively.
Right. So I think the big question here is that we're casting play with fire. Where are we casting it? They're going to block something, and then the fire would help finish off this creature. Would we rather go to the face here and put them down to 2 and lose a creature, or spend the play with fire and the commander to finish off a sentinel for next turn?
I would always use it to finish off the sentinel.
Let's see, so 8. Let's see. I'm still deciding here too. So 8, 4 down to 2. So they go to 2. They would go to 2. They still have their creature in play.
Yeah.
We'd have 2 creatures in play, but no other to finish them off. So I agree with you. So looking at the next turn, they play another creature. Now we no longer have lethal and can't finish them off. So this way we at least guarantee the board's clear.
We would definitely go play with fire to the face, right?
If we had what?
If we had lightning in hand as well, then we'd definitely go to the face.
For sure, yeah. And honestly, it also depends on your deck, too. Some red decks have a ton of burn spells. Like, a ton of them.
Right.
Some only have a few. We kind of only have a few. So it's not likely we're going to draw one to kill them. So this is fine. I like this. So make sure you play it first. Get the power trigger. Deal the damage. Finish that off. Now they're at 4, and we're at 20. This is a very, very common spot for a red deck to be in. They're at 4. We're kind of out of gas. We have a few creatures in play. And we kind of need to draw that last bit of to finish them off. A burn spell, an adversary, a Godric, something good. Okay, so
we've been one basing for 10 minutes, but we've still got... They're almost dead. Oh, God.
Exactly. You got to combo that one last attack together and finish them off before they start turning the corner. So, pretty good turn for them. They played a scout. They explored. They got the buff. And they played another big creature that explores as well. It also got a buff. So this is a 5/5 and a 2/2 on the ground. So, ground's starting to gump here a little bit. They have no cards left either. We draw a mountain, which is the worst possible feeling for a mono red player. So now they've got 4 life, a trade. They actually have great blocks now too because this is smaller anyway. So, any thoughts
here? Do we
here?
have any spells that we can bring out with the adversary's ability or no?
It's only when it comes into play.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
Youch. All right, nothing we can do then. We have to just sit back and wait, right?
Yep. Now the good news is that we're 20, they're 4. So like we have time to draw things. They also can't really get aggressive yet because we'll just attack and kill them. So not in a bad spot. You know, obviously 6 lands kind of stinks. That's why this deck plays these fun lands, like the Foundry, which turns into a creature, or Vasokazan, which can become 2 creatures as well. So you're not in spots like this. If we had drawn one of these lands in our first 5 lands, we probably would have already won. You know, we'd be in great shape. So,
Yeah.
is what it is. New creature. Kind of cute here. This creature has the ability to turn into other creatures. So they made it into the Vigilance creature and attack with it, which is fine. Take 4. They got maps too, because also get more explorers on. So just got an explore themed deck. Explorers everywhere. This will grow their creatures if they have a thing on top. And they get to scry first. So it's getting to the point now where winning the game on the ground is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
And this is honestly where so we had that choice 2 turns ago. We could have put them to 2 and left them with their creature in play. And that would have opened up more outs for us to draw. But again, I'm not exactly sure which was right in that spot. So they have a Mind Singer on top. This is a creature that can steal creatures also, which is not great for us. We do Sokazan. This is basically just 4 mana, get rid of it, get 2 1/1s that have haste. But it's all activated abilities are instants, so we're not in a rush to do anything here. We're just going to say go. Ideally, if they get all too frisky and attack us with multiple creatures, might be able to end step this, put some things in, then draw something good and kill them.
All right, holding it back. Yeah, that makes sense. Just see if they get a bit of Riga.
Yep, and realistically, like, anything that's an instant at all should always be done at, like, the literal last moment. You know, because you're just giving your opponent a lot of information to build their turnaround.
Yeah.
Whereas when you don't have that information, you might have something or might not, and now, you know, they need to kind of figure it out. All right,
But it's funny because my instinct would have still been to play the land straight away, just not activate the instant on it. But I guess that would have given away that you could use it, right?
Oh, this thing?
Yeah.
Oh, so this works from your hand. It is a channel ability. So you
it's a channel. Okay. Oh, I thought you had to play it first.
No, yeah. So you just discard it from your hand. It's sort of like a spell. It's sort of like a land or 4 mana spell. Make 2 things.
Okay. Cool.
The problem here is that these things have vigilance. So they're allowing them to clock us, but also stay back on defense, which is kind of annoying. So they're gonna make some maps. They're gonna get in for 9 here. We could be firing in some blocks. Any thoughts on that?
I don't think it makes sense to just yet. I mean, we're probably going to be within range of lethal next turn, but if we save the blockers, maybe we can get an extra turn to maybe get an out. Whereas if we block now, I don't know, their board state's going to be too out of control, so I would just not block.
I agree. And it's kind of like, it is a bit of like knowing their deck here. Like, are they going to be able to kind of like all of a sudden kill our stuff and kill us next turn? Probably not, you know. But if good instincts, like realistically, you just take the damage here. You can always just block next turn, right? So no reason to block now. Being at 7 isn't that much different than being at whatever with having blockers available too. So they're going to fire in some more maps. You know, again, it's going to be pretty difficult to beat them on the ground. However, now we have outs, right? So we know our deck list a little bit. We know we've got more of these adversaries in there, which is great. We also have the Godric's, which can get flying, but that would require multiple things entering, which is kind of interesting thing to think about as well. We also have this thing that can do 5 damage too, but we're in trouble, honestly. So play the Mind Singer. They're going to kick it, which allows it to steal something. So they're going to steal our creature. And then end of turn, we're going to channel this. It costs 4 mana. So in order to do 2 things at once, we have to do it now, or we'll get stuck on our turn. So just channel it. And we're kind of looking for a miracle here. Okay.
What's Monstrous Rage do again? It's just +2/0 combat trick.
Yes. So it pluses, but also puts the monster roll on, which is a +1/+1 and trample. So it's actually +3, +1, and trample. Which would be a cool card to steal the game with, maybe if it didn't have 5 blockers to our 3. So I think we're mostly dead here. We're going to just chill and see what happens. We might be able to block, stay alive, and then possibly be draw to an adversary to win, maybe. All right, so they have a creature land, so that's fine. So they're just going to kill us. So creature land. So honestly, kind of a common loss for mono red, where you kind of draw 7 lands, you're almost there, and then they just turn the corner and you don't really get there. So so they're in and they attack.
You're pretty commonly, like, it's probably ideal with this sort of deck to just probably only draw 5 lands ever, right? Or at most 6.
Correct. Yes. So these are the decks that, you know, the slot, like the mid-range decks and the control decks have much more kind of card filtering and card draw and bigger things to play. So they don't mind more drawing more lands. They have things to do with it. This deck's kind of just, you know, we're low resource. We're playing a low resource game, and then once we hit the mid game, we're just a low resource deck. It just is what it is, you know. And there are a few cards that can mitigate that, but not a ton. So We'll do one more game with this
Jim?
deck, and then we'll move to a different one. Questions so far?
Yeah. Well, gambling addiction runs deep in my blood. So rather than using, understanding of numbers and stuff, I'm basically going to go back and say, you should have obviously mulliganed at the start of that last game. You're an idiot. You were wrong. The next game in the same situation, you have to mulli in that scenario. It's always about what happened in the last game because, your time's coming,
See? Now you're getting it. That's perfect. The concept of being due is a very important one in Magic, yes. All right, well, now you get your chance. So now we're on the play. We're going first. How about this hand?
The Saga is a 1-drop, right? So we can play that turn 1, but then we've got just Lightning, which is it 2 or 3 for Lightning Strike? 2. So, yeah, and obviously we don't want to really use that on turn 2, right? Pretty rarely. Sometimes we can, sometimes not. And then we've got the 4-drop. So it's an acceptable hand. I wouldn't say it's great by any means, but it's the thing is the second turn of the Saga won't have a creature necessarily to even work on. So no, I think I'd mulligan this.
This one's similar to the last one where it's really, really close. It's definitely not a good hand. I think I agree with your assessment here, but we have a 1-drop, nothing else, a couple burn spells. We do have a Foundry, which is nice. So at least we have some value in our lands. If it was 4 mountains, I would probably be leaning mulligan. It's very close. I'm honestly not exactly sure, I'll say we'll mulligan it for posterity's sake from last game. I think it's very close. I don't think I would fault someone for keeping or mulliganing here. I think it's that close because you need to also... There's an element of having... You're not always going to have everything. There's an element of having faith in your deck and just being all right, I'm going to draw a creature. I'm playing plenty of them, but you got to have a little bit of faith. You're not always going to have everything you want in your opening hand, but
we'll mulligan here. Eight 2-drop creatures or something in this deck? How many is it? Do you know?
We got...
Top of your head?
Adversary, Scoundrel, there's also a Feldon, there's also the Suspirs too. So we draw a 1-drop too. That's also fine too. So there's a decent number of outs. Right. We'll mulligan. We're trying to do better. And there you go. That's much better. So.
Hey, awesome.
So mulligans, of course, we got to bottom one of these cards now. Oh shit. All right. Well, timer ran out. It bottomed the land, I think. That's fine. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So it bottomed the land automatically, which I think is a pretty good idea because you want to try to avoid flooding if possible. So play the land. Now we got 2 options here. We got the Kamano or we got the Suspir. What's playing first?
I think we just bring out the Swift Spear to start, but I don't know actually, because the Saga's probably good to get going straight away because it builds up really nicely. Then it can buff the Scoundrel to a 3/3 on the next turn. Yeah, I think the Saga's best.
Yep, I agree. This is all just sequencing, right? So if you play Swifty on 1 and then play Scoundrel on 2, now you have Saga on 3. Might not have a creature for it. If it says haste also, there's an argument where the Saga will pump the Suspir if you play it first. But I think sequencing wise, Kumano's almost always first. All right, so we got an Exali Lore Keeper. This is a mana dork that can only cast dinosaurs. So draw a mountain and what's up? Talk to me.
Yep, I think we can just play the mountain and go straight for the Scoundrel.
Yep. So the only other thing we playing the Foundry first, maybe because that means that it can attack next turn. But I would say we're pretty unlikely to attack with it next turn. So playing Mountain's fine here. Play the Mountain, play Scoundrel, adds the counter, go with our roll, and then this is a very good draw on the play. We're attacking for 3 on turn 2, which is awesome. Next turn, this thing comes in, and then this thing come in, and then this thing. This is a spell that deals 5 to a creature. And it'll cost 1 less for each attacker. Jesus, it's really bad. It's really bad for us. Very powerful card. So they play probably one of the worst things a mono red deck can ever see, which is a 6/6 creature on turn 2. So too big to be hit by burn spells. And it's gonna be a big problem for us. So
yeah, that's nasty, man. That is absolutely nasty. Okay, I guess we're just gonna pull out. Ooh, what are we going to do? We've obviously got to put a land out, so we might as well put out the Foundry. And then I guess we just have to play the Swift Spear to get more board up. Oh, so you can play the Frenzy. Oh, okay, so you can play the Frenzy. Okay, Witch Talker Frenzy deals 5 damage to target creature. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so yeah, we want to swing with everybody then, right?
Yeah, we got to jam. So, obviously, we're getting 2 for 1 here, and that sucks. But we're also dealing a bunch of damage, too, which has intrinsic value as well. It's not necessarily card advantage value, but you have to quantify, damage. If your opponent's dead, they have 100 cards, who cares, because they're just dead, you know? So there's an amount of value there. This kind of sucks. We're hitting 2 for 1, you know, but it is what it is. We mulligan 2, so now we're down a couple cards, but our draw's good. They're at 11. We're doing pretty well here overall. Still have a Sokazon and a Foundry, so if we draw a land, isn't that bad. Decent damage, decent top decks. Not an ideal spot. Historically, big green chunky decks are good against mono red decks because they play large things that can't be burned with only one thing. But not a very good turn 3 for them. They play another Lorekeeper and say go. So what's up?
All right, we're gonna pull out our. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, do we hold back the land or even just cast it and attack with everything? Maybe. How much land? It costs 3 land to use the ability, right? On the thing.
For Sokazon, it costs 4.
The Sokazon.
Yeah, it costs 4, -1 for any legendary creature you control. And then the Foundry costs 2 to activate. And it'll become a 2/2 creature.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to play just the other one as a land to get that out, because then we can play the Swift Spear, and we can also activate the land and swing with everything.
Love it. Just jamming. So they obviously could line up blocks here. They can block 2 Lorekeepers on 1 Swift Spear, and they would kill it and trade with their 1/1 for our 1/2. But again, while that's happening, we're dealing a lot of extra damage too. Or they might not block because they don't have enough mana to do things. So that was last turn was an important turn as far as kind of figuring out the context of their hand. So kind of a slightly more advanced concept, but really important to be trying to think about what they're playing and what they're doing at all points in the game, and to think about what the thing they did tells you about their hand. So last turn, they had 3 lands. They tapped a 1 mana for a Lorekeeper and just said go. So that means they probably don't have any dinosaurs that cost 4 or less, right? Because they would have cast them.
Yes.
And they probably don't have any creatures that cost 3 or less. They would have cast them. If they had a kill spell, probably would have cast that also. So their hand's not very good, right? And so these Lorekeepers are obviously very, very valuable for them. If they were to die, they just like they couldn't cast a spell last turn, they couldn't cast a spell this turn either. So that's an important feature as well. It's a little more advanced, but we'll get a little bit more. So play a Lorekeeper, play land, say go. Sorry, don't play. They just put that tap land. So we draw Adversary. It's 2/2.
We're gonna throw the adversary down and swing with everything, 100%, including the land.
Question here is, we haven't done the flashback anyway. We could just cast this rather than activate the thing, but I think I agree. I think it's fine. The clock's going to, so pretty easy spot. I think they're probably just dead. They chump block 2 things here, and they can't cast any spells probably. So a little bit of a gimme, honestly, I think, because again, like if they had just played Hammer Skull into Hammer Skull, we probably would have been pretty dead here. All right, so they have a Beseiju. This is the green channeling land. This thing will destroy an artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land, and will help us search for a land. So interesting that if we had played the Adversary, it would have played around that. And like in a high level tournament, like that might be a thing you could like think about, but like it's whatever, you know, it's kind of just happened. So get a land, attack for a bunch. Their blocks here are still pretty bad. And now also we have the Adversary. Nothing to flash back with it yet, because this card costs 4. But could be a point where if things get bogged down, maybe the game stalls out a little bit. This could be a way to do that too. So could play this now. I don't really see a reason to. Because we're already super ahead. It has haste for next turn anyway. We could hold it if we need to. Just gonna chill.
Okay, cool.
There's also one of the things that happens in constructed, does not happen in limited, is that there are sweepers. Cards that kill all creatures, or deal 3 damage to all creatures, whatever. Those kind of cards are much more commonplace. So playing around things like that can be important as well. Most important one in standard right now is a card called Sunfall, which we'll see in a little bit. It's a 5 mana white card that exiles all creatures and then makes a thing that turns into a creature, which is like really, really powerful. And the aggro decks, that's like one of their worst enemies is that card. Where once that card gets cast, it's hard to come back. So, all right, cool. That's mono red. Mono is pretty simple, honestly.
Awesome.
You know, so let's move on to a deck that's a little more complicated. So,
oh no, we're going into deep waters now.
Yeah. So again, I'm looking at the structure because I definitely want. Doing all the decks is crazy. You're not going to learn 10 decks in a day or 2 or whatever. So want to do the least amount of possible. I think we're just playing 3 decks, if I'm looking at this correctly. There's a round robin. Yeah, so we got to have you set with 3 decks, I think.
Okay, sick.
That's mono red. Let me see the next deck list here we got. I can't show this spreadsheet to everyone in chat because they'll get mad at me. So we have black red aggro.
Yeah, I asked the admins if we could stream with the decks, like the account and stuff, and show, and they haven't got back to us yet. So I'm like, okay, we'll see. I'll just be practicing off stream.
I'm pretty sure they said it was fine. I know Amy was streaming the decks also like yesterday, so it should be fine. You know, all these decks are just
yeah. I was just like, because I don't have the cards, I'm like, can I stream on the account before the event? I'm like, that was like,
it should be fine, I think. So All right, so let's
Yeah,
go to a
that's
deck that's a
probably
little
right.
more complicated in a similar space. We're gonna try out the red-white human deck. So this
Okay,
is
sick.
a deck that's similar
I
to a
mean,
deck that I played at the World Championship earlier this year. My deck was mono
okay.
white. This deck has a little bit of red in it though. So
I usually think red white's nice and simple as well, right? It's only half a step up from just mono red in terms of complexity usually, yeah.
yes and no. There's more happening in this deck because the thing is that with mono red, a lot of the goal of the deck is to kind of keep the board clear and just jam, or
Yeah.
just kind of be like suicide attacking so you can get those burn spells in. When you're playing a more creature based deck with no burn spells in it, a lot the more of the complexity ends up being on the board. So now we have like I have 5 guys and you have 4 guys. And you got to figure out like attacks and blocks a little more abilities and stuff like that. So it is definitely more complicated.
Yeah,
Let's go
these are the
ranked.
ones where like sometimes my brain short circuits a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I can't actually like I get 3/4 of the way through doing the math on blockers and attackers, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go with instinct because my brain hurts, and I'm like, I think this works. Do this, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But I'll try to I'll try to count my best if we get into any big board states.
Yeah, and honestly, that could be a reason why we would not play a deck like this. You know, because I think that we're gonna try and select 3 decks for you and have you set with the 3 decks you're going in with, and that's just it. This might not end up being one of them because of that, honestly. Because the mid-range decks, for example, they might end up playing longer games, but their cards are more individually powerful. So for a StarCraft analogy, kind of like a Protoss Death Ball, right? It's just like 2 Colossi, a bunch of Stalkers, whatever. It's kind of like this big ball you can just A-move and just do your thing. Whereas a deck like this is a little faster, but all of its pieces are a little more interesting. So you have like, you need to control your spellcasters or whatever. You're going to need to control certain units certain ways. Your Ravagers are doing certain things here or whatever it might be. You're going to have your Marines in the back or whatever it might be. So like, even though its aggressive seems easier, the mid-range decks have much more powerful cards individually, and you can kind of just like autopilot on the cards a little bit too. So we'll try it next though. We'll play a few games of this deck. This is a mostly white human deck. Again, similar to the deck that I played at Worlds. That deck was all white. This deck added a few red cards thanks to the lands from the new set. Cavern of Souls being a big one here, which you choose a creature type, taps for any color, and it can't be countered. So we name human, we can cast our Thousand Moon guy or this guy. Mostly an onboard aggro deck, so it's almost all creatures. There are 4 kill spells and Get Lost, which will kill a creature and give your opponent some maps, but everything else is a creature. So you're beating down. These creatures make extra attackers, so Adeline and this Thousand Moon card are very, very similar, where when they come down, when you attack with something else, they make an extra token that's attacking also, and they scale up as the game goes on. So they're very, very powerful, especially when your opponent's on the back foot. They snowball really, really well. A few pump spells here. This thing pumps all your humans. Thalias are very important.
Is it sorry for every card that's attacking you get to spawn one, or it's just if you're attacking in
Just
general?
if you are attacking. So
Yeah.
and these are also big sequencing cards too, because how you sequence a card like Adeline will make it go from being just like kind of whatever to being really, really good. So, for example, if you're playing as a deck that has kill spells in it, and they just say go on turn 3 with kill spells in theoretical kill spells in their hand, and you have no good attackers yet, you might want to wait and just not play Adeline. And just find a spot where you can play it where it's safe later, and try and guarantee you at least get that 1 token off it to gain the value. So, again, it's a little more complex, I guess, than mono red. So we'll go over it. So, yeah, a bunch of creatures we'll go over. Big one here is also Thalia. This is one of the reasons why the deck is almost all creatures. This is a 2/1 first strike for 2, and it makes every non-creature spell cost more. So for decks that are playing a lot of non-creature spells, this card's devastating. It's a backbreaking card.
That is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, and this card sees play in every format. It's playable in Legacy, Modern, and a bunch of other stuff too. So really, really powerful card. So cool. So let's hop in. Again, there's a lot of abilities on each creature. We'll go over them because they kind of come up, and we'll just try and read as we go here. So fire in,
Cool.
best one.
Apologies to my audience, guys. I've accidentally let the ad timer roll up, so I'm gonna have to hit that ad break now. You guys are gonna miss the first 3 minutes, but GG. See you guys in 3 minutes if you're not a sub. Sorry.
Peace. Yeah, I'm working on I just started the ad program also, and I'm kind of working on like trying to get it in the right spots. So still working.
Yeah, it's good once you get it down because it forces you to take like a little bathroom break or grab a drink of water every hour. But it takes a while to get used to that habit. So now, like if an ad auto plays in the middle of stuff, I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, I'm not taking enough breaks. I'm just glued to the computer today. All right. I mean, we got 2 land. It is technically playable. But I would probably Molly. Warden is a 2-drop, is it?
So yes, they're all 1-drops. We've got Officer here is a 2/1 for 1, and it has an ability where you can draw cards later with it for 4 mana. It isn't used very often. This thing's a 1/2 for 1, and you can tap 3 things to make it grow. So kind of cool. And then once you grow it, it'll gain flying and vigilance, which is kind of cool. Then we have the Adelines.
Yeah, I'm a little torn. I would probably mully this, just because 2 lands a little dangerous, but it's definitely, I'd say this is just on the side of mulliganing. So yeah, I would go with mully.
I love the aggro mullies. I love that. Again, it's so common for a newer player to never want to mulligan. I think this is a key. I think it is very, very close. But again, you need to have a little faith in your deck. You also need to recognize, like, what am I drawing to right now, right? So you can see my little deck thing here, right, on the left.
Yeah.
So this is a deck tracker. Is very
the whole
useful.
deck on the left. Sorry, is that like with like an add-on or something? Sorry.
Oh, okay. I guess you can't see because I'm sharing my application, not my screen.
I'm just sharing screen. Yeah, I don't.
Okay, sure. So it shows the deck list. So basically, it shows you the odds of drawing things and stuff.
Anyway, right? Because we did look at it. So yeah, you're trying to draw what, the 2 drops and then lands, right?
Right. So
obviously lands
almost
being the most important.
Almost every draw in the deck is a land or a 2-mana creature or less. So our only failure are that we have 6 failures and then all other hits. So we're going to keep this. You need to have a little faith sometimes.
Okay.
We're 38% to draw land. But again, if we draw a 1-drop or a 2-drop, that's also fine at the end of the world. We have to play a 1-drop into 2 1-drops and then pump it up a little bit too. So our hand scales as well also. So again, not great, not ideal, but fine. So playing mulligans. Now I have the option of playing the officer on 1 or the warden on 1. The warden's a 1/2, officer's a 2/1.
Yeah, I think we'd go for the 2/1. Try and get a bit of damage in early.
Yeah, agree. It's a lot of words to parse, I know. Like, but the warden is better later in the game. This is better early. Just play it, trade it off, kind of do your thing. So we got Merfolk again. Cool. So similar to the Explorer deck last time, the Merfolk guy. This time it drew a land, which is actually very bad for us because now they can block our 2/1, and they got a card off it too. So it's a 2-for-1 for them. So this is a spot we would have preferred them to hit a 2/2 and not draw the land, but is what it is. So
yeah.
We draw Coppercoat Vanguard, which is a creature that pumps all of our humans. It gives them a ward. Unfortunately, it only pumps the power, not the toughness, so it will not help us to get through here. So, what do we think?
I think we still play the Coppercoat just because it's on curve. Obviously, we could play the 2 Wardens otherwise, but what's the Coppercoat stats? Sorry, was it a 2/1 or a
2/2?
2/2. Yeah, I think we play the Coppercoat and save the Wardens for later, right?
I think we're gonna wait. I think Coppercoat's a card that's better to play later because it buffs your whole team. So like,
okay,
we have nothing really out. We can't attack anyway. We can play both Wardens here, and then they tap 3 things to buff. So you play both of these, and then we'll just buff one of them. So the ability here is tap 3 things. It gets +1/+1 counter.
Oh, it is okay, cool.
It also has the ability where it scries too, which can help us find our 3rd land. And we're also trying to make sure we can attack next turn for Adeline. Because whenever we play Adeline, it's very important to want to attack immediately. So
okay, cool.
Pump it up, scry, you'll see a Thalia on top. So you don't put this on the top or the bottom.
Against a blue-green Merfolk deck, I think we'd probably want that. So I think we'd keep it on the top.
Bottom for 2 reasons. So 1, if they're playing Merfolk, they're playing a lot of creatures. So they're probably not playing many spells, so it's not going to be as useful. And 2, I think we're just bottoming almost any non-land there. We just want to play Adeline on turn 3.
Okay. Oh, right, because we need the land so badly. Of course. That makes perfect sense.
So draw a 3rd Adeline. So cue the laugh track or whatever. And still not bad, though, honestly. So now you can still play the Vanguard. Now we're buffing a bunch of stuff that's already in play. So the sequencing looks better having the Vanguard in play last than first. So play the Vanguard. They have a 2/3 and a 1/1. So we have some attacks here we can make. If we were to attack with our 3/3, they could block with both of these. We would trade the Warden for the Conductor. The Conductor makes all their Explorers a lot better. Could send this guy and also as a 3/1, which would trade with this, so it's not very good. Also want to leave 3 guys back to plump too, I think. So I think we're going to offer the trade here. Sorry, I'm going a little fast.
Just with the 3/3 only, right?
Yeah, just send this guy in. If they want to trade here, it's fine. We're honestly, this is kind of a situation where it's we're trying to simplify the board a little bit, right? So if they do block here, the board looks great for us. They have a 1/1, I have 3 creatures in play. And if they don't block, also great. So it's not a bad trade at all. You know, also a lot of cards in Magic will have diminishing returns, where you can't really do much with the second copy. So Warden requires 3 things to tap it, but if I have 2 of them in play, I can't tap for both of them. You know, so losing one of them wouldn't even be that bad. All right, so they play this guy, which explores twice. That buffs this guy up to a 4/5, which kind of stinks. Draw another non-land, but not a bad draw, actually. We draw the Vanguard, which is kind of cool. So,
I think we've got to play him, and we're going to tap a bunch of creatures again. And I think we're not going to swing with anything since that's been pumped up so big to a 4/5, right?
Yeah,
I think we're going to wait till Adeline comes out or something like that. So
yeah, we can chill.
Super land stuck.
Our board's pretty good here. Our stuff is growing. Chat point out, I made a mistake last game. I should have just pumped the guy that attacked, obviously, but whatever. I'm just talking through everything. So, but yeah, play the Vanguard. And this is the big difference between mono red and mono white. So right now, we're kind of board stalling a little bit, but our cards scale. You know, the Warden gets bigger. This is pumping our stuff. We have a bigger thing to build up to. Boards get a little more complicated, but we're still doing things, which is good. So we'll tap the Copper Coats because they're never getting in combat. And we'll tap probably just the Officer, which works good too. We're going to bottom them on land. And that's our second counter. So no flying yet. Once these have 3 counters on them, they gain flying and vigilance, which is huge. So we're both building towards that, which is cool too. So we just say go.
Could we have offered the trade there with the 5/4?
I think at this point, this is about to be a flyer. So I think it's ceased to be a good trade, you know?
Oh, okay, yeah. Especially because they could use the 2 cheaper cards to trade with it as well, right?
Also true, yes. So
yeah.
More exploring. Spelunker explores twice. They found some spells. This thing gets bigger. They hit a land. So they're starting to do their thing. But now we can kind of get in the air. And again, this is the kind of thing where, like, you know, we're on 2 lands, but we're still playing because our cards scale pretty well and, you know, it's doing fine. So there comes land number 3. The downside here is that now our Adeline is like, it's good, but it's not that good yet. So Adeline makes a token that has to attack. It's like already attacking when it makes it. It'll be a 3/1 token, and they'll just block it with this thing probably. So it's still good because it's huge, but it's not as good as it would be, but still gonna play it. So play Adeline. And now you definitely want to pump.
We don't have any other choices. So I guess we got to do it, right?
It's also just huge. So its power is all the things you have in play. So it's huge.
Yeah.
So I think because we have more, then we can trade it too. So now we're gonna pump up this guy, get it in the air, the Vanguards, and these are 3/3s. Probably just this guy, I guess. So top card is a removal spell. It is a get lost. This is the thing that will kill a creature and give them map tokens. So what do you think here?
I would. I kind of want to keep it on the top, but obviously we need land. But I think right now we can play everything in our hands, so we actually keep it on top.
Yep, I love it. Honestly, we don't even really need a 4th land. A 4th land doesn't really do anything for us, right? We have 2 3-drops in our hand, so that 4th mana is kind of wasted anyway. So that's a great one. Now our guy's in the air. We get to jam. Jamming will create the 1/1 token, which will be a 3/1 because of this thing. They can block it for free here, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So it's just gonna die. It is what it is. You know, you try and find a way to keep it alive by attacking with more things possibly, but this is fine for now. So, and then post combat, we have the option of we can tap this thing again and pump it up all of our stuff. That leaves us vulnerable to an attack of for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But if they attack us for a bunch, what happens?
It's lethal, yeah. So I think that's definitely worth. I would easily do that. I mean, with this sort of deck, I can't imagine they could. They're not going to have any haste in this deck, as far as I know about the Merfolk decks in this set, and they're not going to have combat tricks that are going to give them +7 damage, right? Like,
yeah, they have this guy, which will pump the team, and we saw it from the thing before. It's still not enough though, right? It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I guess if they had 2 of them, we'd die. So I might have been wrong, actually. I don't know. Again, talking through everything like is with the clock is a little difficult, but so
yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah. As you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, this is unnecessarily risky, I guess, but whatever.
Yeah, and that might be the thing I was saying earlier about the risk for ruin of ruin, where like even though it's unlikely we might have died here, we'd be in a better spot. Probably shouldn't have up there actually, but whatever, it's fine. So they play the thing. This has flash. They didn't need to play it when they played it, but it's fine. They're getting frisky. They're going to send in 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14
I think they can
damage.
kill us, right? They've got lethal, yeah? If they swing with everything?
These 2 can't attack. So we got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They have 16 if they have everything.
On the left can't attack? Right?
This guy can.
Oh, okay, why didn't they swing with the C-Note? Just to keep him back as a blocker.
Yeah, I think this is
okay,
this is on chump block duty. But this is blocking Adeline. This thing's huge.
Yeah.
So, they're at 11, and if we can get 2 counters here, we have lethal. Let's tap.
We can get lost the Spelunker as well, right? Potentially.
Yeah, so
I guess just bringing out another Adeline gives you another attacker, so that's probably worth more.
Can't do that. Legendary.
Right.
So that's the thing that does not come up very often in limited, obviously. But the little
especially when and I play a lot of Commander as well. It's Singleton, you know.
Right, exactly. So there's no scoop. Yeah, sure. We're in great shape, obviously here, but the little crown thing on top denotes the legendary. There are a good number of legendary creatures, so you definitely need to be aware of that. But the little crown thing on top of the thing shows that. So this turn probably would have been, let's see, 5, 4, and 7 in the air. Couldn't pump this one again. This thing can counter thing. I don't know. It's confusing. You can see how these games get complicated. You know, where like, there's like a bunch of stuff in play.
The flying mechanic though with the Warden. So is it? How's the flying work on it again? It's
if it has three or more counters on it.
Counters.
It has flying and vigilance, which is huge, so it can block as well.
And the ward comes in with that as well, or was that from something else?
Oh, the ward's from this guy.
The ward's from. Okay, right.
Yep. Yeah. So
nice.
Again, it is a lot to take in at first. But once you get familiar with the cards, it all goes pretty quickly. But the initial like blitz of like, I gotta read 11 different cards. Holy shit, is a lot to start. So
no, these decks are actually like pretty simple because like it's the decks where you've got so many different complex interactions where it's like even when you know the cards, you need to use your brain a lot more. Whereas this, I'm like, there's a bit of thinking with the board state and stuff, but this is still well within my realm of like comfort of like I feel like I'm learning very quickly, especially with your explanations.
Sweet. All right, so let's do one more game with this deck, and then we're gonna try out a mid-range deck.
This is awesome.
So fire it in. And again, that was a pretty interesting game because that game we didn't draw our third land until turn like I don't know 6, 7 maybe. You know, so these decks, you know, it's not like limited where you got to make those first 5 land drops. You know, like you can these cheaper decks can run on a small amount of lands, and then there are control decks where you might keep 5 lands, 2 spells because you got to make every land drop with your control deck. It's different. So. All right, so one more game with this deck. We're gonna have we're on the play. We're going first, and that's the hand. What do you think?
Sorry, I was looking away for a sec. We've got 2 lands. Recruitment officers get lost. Thalia. Yeah, I guess we keep this, right? I mean, we don't have the red land yet for Anand Pakal, but with what we're going to be drawing, which is a lot of 2-drops and stuff, I think we should be fine. We've got Thalia, we've got a 1-drop. Yeah, no, this is good. We keep.
Yeah, this is fine. You know, 1-drop Thalia. Any 1-drop into Thalia on the play is very good. Decks, aggro decks in particular, obviously much better on the play than on the draw. It's pretty obvious, but especially cards like Thalia. A card like Thalia on the play is double damning because now you're playing first and they're behind a turn on their spells too. So it's like this, you know, almost any hand with 1-drop Thalia is gonna be pretty solid on the play. So. We'll play our Ganjo. This is the land that can channel and deal damage to attackers or blockers, but we're never channeling it, so we're going to play it. Play 1-drop and say go.
Let's go.
All right, so we got mono red. Cool. So some cards we're familiar with. So they play Kamana. We take 1. We draw a Hopeful Initiate. Card's got 2 abilities. It is training. Whenever it attacks the larger creature, it'll grow. And you can remove counters to kill enchantments and artifacts, which is a little slow, but comes up later in the game. So draw that guy. And now what's up?
Yep, I'm going to bring out the Thalia, of course. There is no way to resist that.
Would there be any argument for playing both 1-drops instead?
All right. Look at the... So, I mean, what are the special abilities on the Initiate again?
When he attacks with a larger creature, he grows by 1. He gets +++ encounter. And then he can 3 mana... remove 2 counters from things you control to destroy an artifact or enchantment. So pretty late game ability. It's kind of hard to use early.
Yeah, but he will grow bigger immediately because we got the officer out, right?
Correct.
So on the next turn. Okay, so there is an argument behind that. Yeah, and they've already got the Saga out, which means they want to bring out a creature next turn. Thalia only makes spells. Non-creature spells cost more, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on this. I would literally just go with Thalia because I know that's good, but I think the other 2 seems good as well. I have no idea.
So I think that the decision point here is not based on our cards, it's based on their cards, right? So okay, what are they going to do on their turn? So what's their turn going to look like, do you think?
I mean, it looks like it could be mono red or something like that. They're going to pull out a creature and get a +1/+1 on it using the second phase of their Saga, right?
Right. So we played this deck before, so we know it'd probably be a 2/2 haster. So they'll have a 3/3 haste and they'll attack us, right? So in that case, Thalia isn't very good, right? It's not, they're not playing a spell next turn.
Right.
They're playing a creature that's bigger than it, right? And if they attack us, we attack back for a lot more damage with these guys too. So even though it's a little weird, because typically you want to play 2 drops, you can like spread your spells out later. I think playing the 2 creatures actually is better here.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
And again, the levels of Magic, of course, are like level 1 my cards, level 2 your cards kind of thing. You know, where we think about their hand, what we think they're going to do, and then kind of go from there. So they played a 1 drop, not a 2 drop, but still works out. Like 2 of these, 2 Swifties. They're still getting in though, right? So 2/3 comes in. Thoughts on blocks here?
All right, we want to go for the 2/1 and the 1/2 together, blocking that.
All right, so if we're gonna block, we double block, right?
Open?
And then we trade
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of these for a Swift Spear with a counter on it. Is that good block for us or bad block for us, you think?
Yeah, no, it's a great block, I think, because you're trading a 1-drop for a 1-drop. Well, it's fine, but it's also got counters on it. And yeah, and they don't have a land open for a combat trick, right? So yeah, I mean, it's an even trade, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy, honestly. And then this is the kind of spot where one of the most important concepts in Magic is the concept of who's the beatdown. It was an article written like 25 years ago at this point. But general idea is that, like, am I the proactive person trying to end the game, or am I the inevitability person trying to prolong the game, right? And that's the kind of spot where you ask a question like that.
Here.
I think we're probably the longer game deck. Our cards are more powerful. We have like these big things to make tokens. Our cards can grow.
Yeah.
Their cards are a little smaller and scrappier. So I kind of like blocking there based on that, you know. And then our turn here is still pretty good too, right? We can attack if we want to. We have a Thalia now, which can block this thing, which is kind of cool. So pretty good. So now our turn. What's up?
The problem with playing Thalia is we won't be able to use Get Lost on the following turn because we are land stuck right now. That being said, they're probably going to be playing a lot of small things. I don't know if we need Get Lost just yet. But that is the most land efficient, so I think I'd play Thalia just because it's
attacks or no?
Yeah, no, we just drag it out.
So I disagree, because your idea is correct, but you're not thinking about next turn what's happening with them, right? So they're going to be playing untapping, probably play a spell of a single grow. This will be a 2/2 and could maybe trade, but like if they play a burn spell on one of our blockers, now they're getting through anyway. I think we're just going to attack here, honestly. We're just going to send it in. Thalia's a good blocker of this anyway. We are still an aggro deck, you know, like we can get our shots in or whatever, and like that can also make them not able to attack later and so on and so forth. I think that too many things go wrong on their turn with what they can do as far as like playing removal spells and so on and so forth. Let's just get in here. Get in, play Thalia, and just let go. Also, if they kill Thalia here, that frees up our Get Lost too, which is kind of nice as well. So
yeah, okay, this is going to be interesting. So what are you going to do, mate? Cetus the fetus up here.
They're going to play a Shivan Devastator. Not as devastating as it sounds. This is just a creature that has X in it, and it can be bigger as the bigger you play it. It's only a 2/2 flyer. So pretty good turn, honestly. They didn't really do much.
No, it's not too bad. Is it a flyer?
It's flyer, yes. It's dragon. It's flying.
Yeah.
So that's that guy.
Cool.
So no attacks otherwise. So the Thalia held back the creatures, which is pretty cool. Now we come to our turn. Things are looking pretty good. We drew Cavern of Souls. So now we have mana of any color.
Cavern is any color, right?
Yep.
So we're gonna sick. So now we can play the an Impakal. I'm not too familiar with that card.
Okay, so whenever you attack with a non-gnome creature, so anything but the tokens that it makes, you put a counter on it so it gets bigger, and you make that many attacking 1/1s. So very similar to Adeline, just like a slightly different function. So as long as you attack with any one creature, this will be a 2/3, and we'll have 1/1/1 creature attacking.
Okay, sick. All right. In terms of attackers, we've got a 1/2 and a 2/2 blocking. Yeah, I mean, I don't like a swinging with Thalia. I don't really like... I mean, swinging with the recruitment officers is not bad. We could offer the trade with both recruitment officers just to reduce their board, like the board overall. We don't need to, though. I really don't know what the theory would be here. I mean, obviously, we've got things that buff our board up. So I think we sit back and just block and wait.
I think you want to jam with the officers. Like, by attacking with these... Yeah. We're growing this creature to a 2/3, which is pretty important, because next turn it'll be a 3/4, which is even better. We're making a 1/1, they can block it. But if they block the 1/1, they're not blocking both of these, so we're still attacking. We still have Thalia back on defense. We're also winning the race too. So like,
yeah.
I think contextually, again,
and you're buffing, and you're offering decent trades, right? So
Right.
there's like kind of three, like one is even and two are positives.
exactly. And the thing is that the mantra, the kind of who's the beatdown mantra, is a very important
Yeah.
thing to place your overall plan around. But it's still contextual to how the game is going. Right? There are times where like the deck that would normally be the control deck is going to be attacking because of just how the game lines up. So, and also again, the biggest thing here is just like putting a counter on this, because most of their kill spells are based on damage. They deal 2 damage or 3 damage.
Yeah. So we're out of the fire range, right? It has to be a lightning bolt. One more counter and it's unkillable, and they're just gonna give up. Wow. Okay.
So
I guess sorry.
Opponent made an error here. Although actually, this is an interesting one. So they play the creatures, attack with everything. This card costs 1 less for each creature that attacked. So I think that works through Thalia. So Thalia makes this card cost 5. But if you attack with 4 more creatures, it should shrink it. But it looks like they weren't able to do it, so they conceded because they didn't like actually play this. I don't know what's happened here, honestly.
Right.
So they should be able to play it. So I don't know why they would concede, because they cast this, they kill this thing. They're getting in for a lot. I guess they kill this or this. I block and kill a thing. I untap. We're still in a pretty good spot, I think. But yes, they just scoop. It was kind of a preemptive scoop, honestly.
Far left out of left field theory. They're meant to be studying for school, and mom came home, and they just like alt F4'd.
Honestly, very likely. That's kind of the fun part about any game, obviously, is that like we're not robots. People do weird shit. They have to go. They have to do this or that, and like for sure. So yeah, but definitely we'd see that deck's a little more on the board, doing a little more, making a bunch of things. The games can get kind of wide. Mirror matches can be really complicated because like both players have a bunch of stuff in play. So that's the white deck. So let's hop on over to a more mid-range deck here.
We do a very quick 2-minute break, my friend. I just
have
to pee real bad. All right,
so we're back. So we got this is the mid-range deck. This is the green-black, like a lot of good cards. I'm going to kill some of your creatures. Against a control deck, I'll be a little more aggressive. Against an aggro deck, I'm going to be a little more controlling. Can kind of play multiple roles sort of deck. So the big ones here are cards like Shieldred. This is one of the best cards in the format. Huge creature, 4/5, death touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain life. Whenever they draw a card, they lose life. So basically, if this card lives, you just win. Like this card will take over any game in a structure. This card is better than every card in the mono red deck and every card in the mono white deck, in the sense that like if it's in play, it's extremely powerful. But of course, it can get killed and so on and so forth. But we can see here this deck has a lot of rares and mythics, a lot of raw power level. Glissa is first strike and death touch. It's like impossible to beat in combat. This card will die and then come back. These decks have spells in them, obviously. They've got, kill spells like Go for the Throat, which kills a non-artifact creature. Cut Down kills a small creature, and so on and so forth. Little bit of like a rampy land theme, too. So a turtle here, when it comes into play or attacks, you mill 3 cards, which means you put 3 cards in your graveyard from your deck, and then you can return a land.
Oh, wow.
So you can keep returning lands over and over again. And then it makes your land activated abilities cheaper, and it makes your lands bigger. And this deck has 2 creature lands. It has the Foundry we saw in the red deck, and then it has the Cottage here, which is a green-black land. Becomes a 4/4 that can eat cards in the graveyard and make food tokens. So really, really powerful land. And with the turtle in play...
nice.
Yeah, with the turtle in play, it's a 5/5 that activates for 3.
Yeah.
Which is really good, too. So, but yeah, so this is kind of like a grindy, good card. I'm going to kill your stuff.
I like this deck. This is really cool, man.
The power's here. So let's jam this deck and see how this one goes. So when you're playing the mid-range decks, however, this is where sequencing and kind of like reacting to your opponent is much more important. So when you're playing a linear deck, it's like you're doing a build order. I'm doing a 2-base roach push or whatever. Like I know my build order. I'm just doing my things. And I'm just doing them. Right. I have a job to do. I'm gonna try and do it. These decks are more reactive.
Absolutely.
These decks are
What's
more
the name
like
of the Planeswalker in this deck, by the way?
Oh, there is, yes.
Sorry, what's the name of it?
Liliana of the Veil.
Liana of the Veil. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it makes players sacrifice creatures or discard cards. So we'll get to it. So
awesome. So we got 3 land. We've got Go for the Throat, kill small creatures. We got Glissa is what's Glissa again? She's 3 cost. 3 cost. Okay. I mean, I think we keep this because we've got. Oh, actually, wait. No. We don't have a whatever you call it, swamp. Yeah, we have to mulligan, right? Yeah, I mean, I think we go to Mulligan because otherwise we just can't play anything.
Yeah, we have to here. Just like, and the thing is that like, it's funny because this deck actually has 4 forests in it. We just drew 3 of them. Almost all the decks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost all the decks are dual lands. So when you're playing these 2 and 3 color decks, almost all their lands make 2 colors. So this is a pretty bad hand. So you got to mulligan, unfortunately. So mulligan into one of the dual lands. This is the green channel land that kills artifacts, enchantments, and lands. We got forest, cut down. Duress is a card that takes a non-creature, non-land card out of their hand. So it can take a spell, planeswalker, and stuff. Yeah. Go for the kills things, and then the virtue here will also kill things. It's an adventure card. Are you familiar with the adventure cards?
Oh, that's. I forgot. You can explain it quickly just to remind me, please.
Sure. So the front side is this enchantment. It costs 7 mana, and every turn you get a creature from a graveyard. Very powerful. Costs 1 million mana though. It also has an adventure thing here. So Lochthwain Scorn. If you play it for this part of the card, it gets to go to the side, and you can play the big part later if you want to. So it's kind of like 2 cards in one.
Right, but you have to play that first, right? So you have to do the adventure before the other one if you want to get the double value.
Right. So our clock's going to go here. So we'll bottom the extra kill spell. So we have 3 lands, 2 things that kill creatures, and 1 thing that will get a card out of their hand. No creatures of our own, no practical elements of our own at all. So this is an entirely reactive hand. So very different than the 2 decks we just played. So opponent plays.
Both of our lands don't tap when they come out, though, right? So at least we can use them straight away. Yeah.
Yes. All these lands end up untapped, but some duels will enter tapped. So opponent plays a secluded courtyard named Soldier and plays a soldier. So unfortunately, we kept the wrong card here. And this is kind of the problem that mid-range decks will have, is that you need to have the right answers at the right times. We bottomed the card that would have killed a creature, and we kept the card that steals a non-creature card from their hand. It is very unlikely they have that many non-creature cards in their hand, but is what it is, So, we have some discard, 2 kill spells. We drew Glissa, which is a very, very good creature. So,
all right, cool. No worries. But we still want to chuck down a land and just play Duress anyway, because we don't really want to play that later.
Yeah, just fire it off. This might miss, but you still fire it off, All right, so look at their hand. It's all creatures. That's fine. So they have a Pumpy creature, a Thalia also. So again, it's going to tax the spells, some of the soldiers, whatever. It's fine. So it's a miss. Kind of a bummer. So we mulligan now, and we lost another card too. So we're basically on 5 cards, which is tough. And they have turn 2 Thalia in the play. So a little rough here, honestly. And again, if we had kept that cut down, we'd be in great shape. But we didn't. So we play land. We cannot play any spells here because this costs 3 now. This costs 3 now. And we have 2 of these. So not a great spot, but is what it is.
It is what it is. That's how it goes.
Yep. And this is the allure of playing an aggro deck, where your opponent stumbles a little bit and they're dead. So
that's it.
Play the
Aggression
veteran
is looking for mistakes, whereas defense is having the right tools and having everything come out at the right time and the right answers and everything.
All right, so they're gonna get in. This thing pumps creatures, and if a soldier dies, they get a token, which is very good. We draw land, but now we're in some trouble. So options here are to kill a creature for 3 mana, or to play our own creature, which is Glissa. Now, Glissa has First Strike and Death Touch, meaning that it deals its damage first, and whenever it deals damage to a creature, it dies. So this creature almost always wins every combat. Unless the other creature has First Strike and is big enough. They do have a Thalia, which can get bigger with this thing, but So would you rather kill a creature here or play the Glissa?
It's not even a choice. You have to play Glissa 100%.
Yeah, and also they're like we know most of their hand, and this deck, when you're not playing many creatures, not playing many spells, you're probably not playing many ways to kill creatures. Like our last deck we just played had 4 get lost, and that was it. Only card that can kill a creature. So a card like this is often very good against these decks, so you don't have ways to kill it. So play the brick wall. They play an officer, kind of a similar to Adeline card, to 2/3 flyer for 3. Whenever it attacks, it makes a soldier, and they can tap 3 soldiers to draw a card, which is pretty powerful. So one of their better cards. So they're going to pop the Thalia up to a 3/2 with the veteran, and they're going to attack. Now this has First Strike also, so if we block here, they will both die. What do you think we should do?
I think we're dead either way, most likely this game, but trying to reason out what's better. Trade, then have nothing on the board. But if we take more damage, we're going to be dying soon anyway. I think we have to block. I would block.
So I think blocking is correct for those reasons. And then also, when Thalia dies, we unlock our hand, right? So now our spells are cheaper again. Yeah. We have 4 mana and 2 2-drops. So we actually might have a chance to come back in this game. So block and make the trade. They get a token off it, which sucks for us. And we're still way behind here. but now we're at least sort of in the game. So, draw Farce, play that, and they have an army of creatures. So they have the 3/2 of it might draw a card, which whatever. This is the card that makes a counter every turn, and when their things die, they get more creatures. This thing taps all of our stuff to draw cards and makes tokens. This is a little crappy 1-drop, and this is a nothing 1/1. So, thoughts here?
What's Virtue of Persistence do again?
I'm sorry. So 2 mana, -3/-3, and we gain 2 life on the adventure side. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean that's cute, but I mean that would be good for next turn if we have another land, right? Because we do have Bosaju's a land, isn't it? So if we play Glisser this turn, and then maybe we can use like a few Virtue adventure side and go for the throat on the following turn. I think.
So I think we got to kill stuff.
Actually,
here.
no, we can go for the throat. Oh, so sorry. What were you gonna say?
We got to kill stuff here, unfortunately. So because we're so far behind, they have a Lord too. We're probably gonna die, but so we got to kill. Yeah. We're gonna Virtue, and just kill the veteran. We're gonna kill this one first because this guy will make it so they get tokens and things die, and then we're gonna kill the officer also because if it's attacked, they get another token. They're still gonna attack for a bunch and probably kill us. They have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 9 damage coming, but
yeah,
you gotta. So it's a tough call about like whether you're gonna play a blocker or just kill things directly because the blocker might stick around for future turns, but that gives them a chance to remove the blocker and get in for even more damage, so you're not guaranteeing the kill. So,
right, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
We're still going. Gotta kill this. Please cast. So we kill that. Kill this. They draw a card. We're still in really bad shape, but play the land.
Probably dead, but you never know.
All right, so they have another veteran and the pumpy guy. So yeah, we're dead here. So very good draw on their part, obviously. Again, if we had kept that cut down, I think we might have actually been okay this game. Because the big thing that aggro decks do is just snowball really hard. So they kind of keep snowballing and snowballing. If we killed that first creature, maybe we could have gotten back into it. But tough game, obviously.
But we had zero information about our opponent at that point, right? Because
exactly
the start of the game. So you don't know the color they're playing or anything. It's just a dice roll.
Yep. So yeah, and this event is closed deck list. For the pro level events, they're often open deck list, so you will know your opponent's deck beforehand to kind of like mitigate scouting for big teams and stuff like that. Because when there aren't open deck lists, like a big team will have a spreadsheet on our phone, and we'll just like write down every person you play against what they're playing. So you look at your pairing, you say, "Oh, I'm playing against John Finkel. Oh, he's playing mono red," and I'll just know. So the pro level events often have open deck lists, which can mitigate that, but obviously these events won't. So. All right, so next hand we're on the draw here.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect hand to start with. Looks pretty good.
Yep, that's great. So we got a couple kill spells. This comes in tapped. This will come in tapped if you don't play it. If you play it on turn 1 or 2, but on turn 3 it comes in untapped, which is great. Hand's great. We can keep. Also cool is how the cut downs work as far as sequencing goes. So you can go tap land and then cut down another land next turn, which is fine. So. All right, so they play an Enduring Bond Warden. This is a creature that gets counters on it, and then when it dies, it moves the counters. Our only option is to play tap land because we have 2 tap lands. So again, this land will come into play untapped on turn 3 or later, basically. So we save it for later.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Get the cottage out. Oh, double Bond Warden, nice. Okay,
so not too much, just Shieldred. So now I come to, we're playing the Foundry over this because this will come kind of untapped next turn. So you have Foundry in this. So now I come to one of the more confusing cards in the deck, Mosswood Dread Knight. So this has the adventure ability. So you can play it as a 3/2 creature, or we can play the adventure part. It'll go off to the side. We can play it later. Adventure part is draw a card and lose a life. And then when it dies...
If we're playing a slow game against the control deck, we'd go for the adventure, right? But otherwise, we'd just chuck it out to get something on the board if we're worried about dying.
Right. So and then when this thing dies, we have a 1-turn window to cast the adventure from our graveyard. And then it'll kind of go in a cycle and we can keep casting it, which is kind of cool. So,
that's cool. Okay.
So this is a big sequencing card because a lot of it's about if this is going to die, will I have the mana and the time to play the adventure next turn to get it back or not? So because we have cut downs here, we can go this turn. And then if it dies, next turn we could like play the adventure and still kill something and maintain tempo, which is very important.
Awesome.
And this is where a lot of this mid-range deck... Oh, they're going to do some stuff here. So this card doubles counters and makes mana. It's kind of a 1/1. That was kind of weird. But these mid-range decks, even though you're not aggressive, it's still really, really important to play with the board. This is what I was saying earlier about developing. About kind of like, it's your StarCraft analogy is, playing to the board in Magic is kind of similar to like getting your economy going in StarCraft. So if you're making plays that are not adding to the board, it's like skipping drones or not injecting your queens or whatever, like I was saying earlier, you know. So you start to fall behind, and then it gets much worse. So they didn't attack. They played this guy with doubles counters, which is honestly pretty powerful and annoying if it gets going, but very weak on the front side. And now we're good to go. So what's up?
All right, so we definitely probably, I mean, yeah, we're going to play the underdog, right? So we're going to play the underdog.
Well, first thing first is, are we attacking or not? That's number one.
No, we're not going to attack into that, I don't think. I mean, it is a 2-for-1 trade, actually, and we can use his adventure, right?
Well, the important part here is...
Yeah, maybe we will attack, right?
We can break it up, right? So we're just going to attack. So we're just going to jam and see what happens. Because this thing will double counters, and these things move counters. They might be inclined to want to make a block here and try and get tricky and move things over, in which case our cutdowns can blow it out. So they bug both, right? So now we were planning on playing underdog, but now they give us a chance to play both of these instead, which is just better. So we'll play this, and let's see, let me think for a second, I'm sorry. So when these things die, they'll put 2 counters on the thing, but it'll target, and so if I kill that, let me kill this. If I kill this first, kill one of these, it moves there. Okay, so this is a little complicated, but I think what we're going to do is we're just going to say okay. So the thing is that these things die and they move counters around. We want to kill the things they're moving counters to, and we want to try and kill this thing also, so that they won't get double counters. And again, we don't care if this thing dies. We want it to die. You know, the goal with mid-range deck is to trade resources. Is to keep, you know, trading. All right, trade resources, because my cards are much better than yours, and my cards have recursion, come back later in the game. So, we trade off. They're trying to put the counters onto the Bond Ward. So now we're just gonna kill the Hope, and just kill the Bond Ward. So now, we just wipe the board. Traded 3 of our cards for 3 of their cards.
Just so that the counter couldn't go on anything, and because that one could build up to be annoying later on, right?
Exactly. So now, we killed everything, but our card comes back. So we're cool to just kind of chill and kind of keep playing the game. So another Bond Warden, which is fine. And a Lion. Oh, sure. Okay. So this card eats graveyards. So they got us, I guess. So now they can.
What?
So now they can eat our creature. We can't get it back, which is honestly not the end of the world. So now that exchange went from being you know, a profitable exchange to an even exchange, which is fine, honestly. So they do that. So now they have this 2/2. Which can exile cards in the graveyard and get bigger, and the Bond Warden again. We have land 4, and we got a lot of choices here. So we got 2 4-drops, the big boom that drains life, the turtle that gets lands, we have a 2-drop underdog, and this is we drew a Terra Sunder, which can kill an artifact or enchantment for 2 mana, or can kill anything for 4 mana.
Do either of their cards get out of control here? Like, does the Sash do anything?
It eats graveyards and can slowly get bigger and bigger. There's currently creatures in their graveyard, so they could keep growing it next turn.
Yeah, we could underdog and Terra Sunder, or we could. Oh man, I mean they're all decent. I really don't know enough about how much removal they'd have to get rid of Shieldred, so I feel like we keep Shieldred back for now.
That's good. That's very good instinct, honestly, because the goal of this deck is to kind of just like. Trade. Oh, both players out of resources? Shieldred. You know, this is not really a card you play on turn 4. You can in some matches, obviously. But usually you're trying to bleed your opponent dry and get to a point where you're kind of at parity. And you slam this thing and they don't have an answer at the ready yet. You know, so kill the thing. We draw land. So now we have the 5 lands here. We have the Cottage, which becomes a creature. And we got Turtle, Shieldred. They have 1 card left. What do we think?
How much does it cost to make the Cottage into a creature?
4 mana. So tap 4 lands.
Is that just for this turn, or is that permanent?
For the turn. So it becomes a 4/4 creature. When it attacks, you make a food token, which gains life, and exile a card from the graveyard. And then at the end of turn, it keeps being land again.
All right, I think we would basically just offer the trade with the Tenacious Underdog, and then bring out the Tortoise.
Yep, I agree. So Tortoise is also a good resource building card as well, because you mill cards, you get more lands. You know, this just gets you more cards in our mana base. It finds more cottages and stuff like that too. It's a good developing card. It blocks their cards well also. So pretty simple. We attack here. And then we jam a Tortoise. Again, trying to kind of keep this Shielder back as our last thing and try and keep the other things and keep them entertained. So Play this guy. Mill 3. We hit a land. Lucky, the last card. So the forest comes back, which is great. Now I have 6 lands in play. We say go. And this also triggers whenever it attacks also. So it'll if we attack with it, we can keep getting more lands, which is cool too. Alright, so they play a Golgari Readers. This is a creature that whenever a creature comes into play, you choose one, put a counter on it, make a treasure, or gain life. But you can see now they're kind of having the aggro problem where they've got 4 lands, they've used all their spells already, and they're kind of just running out of gas.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This is actually, this is actually looking pretty good. I think at this point it makes sense to pull out Shieldred since they have no cards in hand, right?
They've won, yeah, but I agree. Now, when it comes to doing Shouldered or nothing, you cast Shouldered. But your goal is to look for other things to do that might be better, but still developing our board's great here. So, to attack first, we're going to jam here. We have a kill spell also. We actually, you know what? I'm sorry. We're going to kill the Kami first. Because if this thing dies, the Kami in play, this will give it extra counter. So we're just going to kill this now. So
yeah.
Fire us up, kill this first, see what happens. Alright. They have a Gaia's Gift. This adds a counter to the creature, and then gives it hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So cool. So they stop our spell, but now we see they have a trick. Now we're not going to attack anymore because this thing is indestructible and stuff.
We we sit back, we play Shieldred, and then we just chill, right?
Yep. Play that. So you go. So they draw a card, take 2. This card ends the game really fast because you know, draw a card. And then the thing is that when you're behind in a game, typically the thing you do to get ahead again is to draw cards. You know, find some way to draw cards, try and dig out of it. And the more you dig, the more you die. So it's a frustrating card to play against, honestly.
Brutal, man.
And we're in great shape too because we still have a turtle. So this guy has a recursive graveyard ability also. And we still have our lands too. So
There are good people in this city.
they play a planeswalker. So do you know how planeswalkers work?
Yeah. So you got your loyalty resource. So for +1 loyalty, she just adds a counter. And a counter from among flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance on it. So you get to give +1/1 and one of those tags to a card, eh? Oh, nice. Okay. And she can spam angels once she gets a ton of loyalty. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the minus ability looks at your top 7 cards and puts one to play with a shield counter on. So they found a botanical brawler. This thing has counters on it, and then if other things get counters, it gets counters too. So they're kind of putting together this like counter synergy thing, right? So this thing will double counters. This thing, when it gets a counter, it gets a counter. And when something else gets a counter, and counter. You get the idea. So they're kind of coming together here, though. That was a really good draw because it gave them 2 threats in one, which is a good tempo play. They got a Planeswalker and this thing. And our attacks aren't great here. This thing has a shield counter on it, which means that if it would die, if it would be dealt damage, it breaks the shield instead. So it's going to live. And we draw an extra shield, which isn't great either. So now what?
Is Shieldred legendary?
Yes.
Damn. I couldn't see the little legendary marks on it on the black background, and I was like, is that not legendary? I was like, we can't play 2 of those, can we? That's ridiculous. No, we can't. My dreams have been shattered. We literally just sit here and chill.
Well, now the thing is, so the problem with the Planeswalker is the longer it's in play, the better it is. Every turn it's in play, they cast a spell for free. So you really want to try to remove it if possible. And we have a second Shouldered here. We also have a turtle pumping our land too. So this land currently is a 5/5. So we have 2 possible attackers for Elspeth. They have decent blocks. We have a backup copy anyway. And the thing about a Planeswalker is that a Planeswalker sort of changes the paradigm a little bit about like who's the beatdown because like you need to be the beatdown because the Planeswalker is the inevitable element. So we're gonna jam here. We're gonna jam Cottage here.
The inevitable elephant. I love it. All right, so we're just gonna attack with the 2 big boys, yeah?
Yeah, we could send the turtle also. They could block it, but then they're not making other good blocks. And we also get a land off it too. I'm going to do that too as well. Because we really want to kill this. Might even just be everything, actually. Only downside of that is that they can
it makes sense to swing with everything, right? Yeah.
The only downside is then they just say no blocks. And then the Planeswalker gets super overkilled and we're totally tapped out. So there's a downside there a little bit.
We can take it though, right? Because we got life coming in from Shieldred. We're on 21, so I think we can take it to the face.
Yeah, I think we're right. I think I agree. So, all right, so we're gonna exile card from the graveyard, which is fine. Get a food. The food gains life also, so we can gain life as well. Hit a land, which is great, and then they have to make some blocks.
Yeah, I don't think they'll. So if I was them, I would go Brawler on the Shieldred. I'd go And then I'd use a double block on probably the turtle with Gala and the Bond Warden. Yeah, and I'd just leave the underdog in the cottage to swing, I guess.
Yeah, I like that, honestly. Because you're not going to save the Elspeth here. Your goal is just to pick off the best creatures, right? So
Yeah.
this works here. Only a single block necessary, actually, on the point of the tortoise. But so kill the turtle, kill Shieldred. The shield will break, so this thing's still alive. But all in all, not a bad exchange. And of course, we know we have the shield. They don't know about, obviously. So
Yeah. We've got another naughty one up our pocket. Ah, another sash. Damn.
okay, so that eats the graveyard stuff. So a little annoying.
Super annoying. Oh, we've got so much in there, right? Okay.
Although everything they eat, this will grow too. And then when this gets a counter on it, this gets a counter on it. And when this thing gets a counter, it doubles from this thing too. So they're starting to like pile up the Legos here a little bit, you know?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I feel like we're a bit behind right now, even with Shieldred coming out, right? Just because their board's so much bigger than ours, right? It feels like they're maybe 1 or 2 cards ahead of us.
Yeah, and they're actually gonna. So this thing is also an equipment. Magic cards are so complicated. I'm sorry. So this creature is also an equipment, so it can go on to other creatures. And then when it does, it gives the creature the bonuses that it has.
That it has, right? Okay, that's cool. Okay, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then this thing taps for mana for the size that it is. So they can make 3 white mana, and they can eat 3 things of a sash and give us 3 counters. So that's all available.
Oof.
This is not like a typical deck. This is a pretty fun like brew. This is not a common deck you would see. So
Cool.
okay.
Hey. Nissa.
So we draw a big, large planeswalker. So this is a weird planeswalker is the Phyrexian ability where these little weird symbols you can spend mana or 2 life on. This could be a 5 mana planeswalker and 4 life, a 6 mana planeswalker and 2 life, or a 7 mana planeswalker. But if you do that, it comes in smaller. So the less mana you play, the smaller it'll be. It can make huge creatures, kill enchantments.
Okay, I see. So
Pretty
it
solid.
would come in as just
Although honestly, a really good draw.
3 loyalty.
And when it comes to the idea of playing to the board, planeswalkers are huge for that. Because if you can resolve a planeswalker and protect it for a turn, then untap with it, that's a huge advantage to make. So playing Shoulders is kind of nice, but this is actually an insane draw. So you play this thing, we plus it, we'll make an 8/8 creature.
I guess because you're gonna chump it with Thinger. Okay, right.
So you play this thing.
Okay, yeah, right.
It makes an 8/8.
Okay, so she actually creates a creature on the first one. Oh, okay. I didn't read her first loyalty ability.
Yep.
Okay, wow. Definitely
Right, so the good planeswalkers are ones that defend themselves. This thing makes an 8/8, which is insane. And then also we have this guy to chump block if necessary also. So
that's disgusting. I love it.
yeah, and then if we untap with it, now we're making an 8/8, then a 9/9, then a 10/10, then 11/11, you know, and the game really snowballs a lot too. So they're gonna use their ability, eat my graveyard. They're gonna grow the bond. It's actually gonna get really big, because each time they do it, they get 2 counters thanks to the Kami. This is gonna be a very large bond warden, and it can be even bigger next turn. But that being said, we can jump it. Although this guy grows too, so this is 7. This is 7. This only grows once a turn though, so it's fine. My chat's lamenting right now, but like, oh my god, this is so much information. Like, there's just so many Warzone cards these days. Like,
it does get like that. It's one of the thing is, it's like once you're used to the cards, you just know how they operate.
Right, exactly.
There's always just that initial hurdle of being like,
right.
Oh, I gotta read an essay, man. But once you know what they do, it's pretty slick.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of a good thing for this event that there's just 10 decks and they're all pre-built. So like,
yeah,
I would strongly encourage you just like take an hour, watch it, sit in my toilet or whatever, you know, or in bed, just chilling on your phone, just look at the deck list, read the cards, kind of go through, you know, just kind of like,
yeah.
So you're not seeing it for the first time, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So
no, definitely. I'm going to be hopping on this afternoon and playing with them as well, and
sweet.
See how it goes.
All right. So they're attacking with this huge thing. Oh, it actually has trample too. I didn't realize that. So it's huge, and they can pump it once. I actually screwed up. 2 more times. This is effectively 13, 15, 17. This is a 17 trample if they want it to be. So our blocks actually don't even work here. So we couldn't even say it if we wanted to. So I screwed up. That's on me. I'm sorry. I just didn't realize it could do that much. So we should let it die.
No worries.
So my bad.
So what would we have? Was there a different play we could have done or no?
We maybe should just cast Shieldred. Honestly, it's still pretty good. Like, we got an 8/8 out of it. We got an 8/8 and gain 13 life, essentially, which is not bad, but We need to find some kill spells. Realistically, we gotta kill these creatures. We can't let this keep happening. We could have also minused it and killed the Lion Sash, but their stuff's already pretty big. They have less blockers and stuff, so I'm not sure, honestly. So...
Oh, that's...
Yes, they move the Sash back over. So they have a 7/8, the 3/3, and then the 7/7. And they still have mana able to eat creatures also. Still they'll grow this thing again, yada, yada, yada. Good news is that the Lord Skitter here can exile cards in the graveyard, which is kind of cool. And we also still have Shieldred, so... These games are a lot longer, too. The mid-range games are much longer. There's a lot more going on. So, so play the Rat. This guy makes a 1/1 that can't block every turn, and then eats a card from the graveyard. Just play Shieldred. And just going to say go here. We have no good attacks. They can grow visit instant speed thanks to the Sash. And we're just going to say go, and just going to keep on keeping on. All right, so we're going to exile a creature. They'll exile at response with the Sash, so they can still get the counters off of it. What's up, Corey? We have one of our competitors in chat. Corey is out scouting the competition. He's a real scumbag, so...
Disgusting.
All right, so I've
got to be the least experienced Magic player, I think, out of everyone, right? Like, you've handicapped yourself. You've done the ultimate show-off pro gamer Chad move. I'm taking a mega noob as my partner.
I don't actually know what everyone's level is. I mean, the streamers that are in... I don't know how experienced they are either, so you might not be the biggest noob, but I think you are also, and I'm ready to carry, so I'm ready to rock and roll. Chad Gamer Hours. All right, so say go. They have a 13, 14, and a 9/9, and they're only getting bigger, but now Shield is going off. And the problem, of course, is that this the Brawler is trample, so if it gets too big, it could just kill us. But you have a lot of stuff in play, so more big numbers than small numbers here. You know, this is in the mono white deck or whatever. It's a lot of smaller guys trying to work their way around. This is like some big heavy hitters going. So, yeah, now this thing makes this thing bigger. This thing makes this thing bigger. They're doing it, honestly.
All the plants are humping, man. They're making more plants. The plants are making each other bigger.
Yeah.
They're on the juice. It's
now,
crazy.
To be fair, we have some complaint equity here that they've drawn 4 lands and literally all spells the entire game. So they have drawn pretty well this game, but...
Yeah.
You know, now they have a 23/23 creature with the Sash over here. Nissa killing Sash might have been correct. So here comes the Brawler. The Brawler is currently a 23/23. It can be 2 more. It can be 25/25. So obviously we have to block this to not die. We can shield or block and then just kill it with Death Touch. And then I think we need to block something else if we're going to die. This is 4, 5, 23, 19.
Yeah.
We're kind of just like dead here, honestly.
Yeah.
Let's just ship.
We throw the underdog into the meat grinder just for.
It's just too small, I think. I think we have to put the 8/8 there. So we're gonna gain 8 life. Yeah, my chat's like they're living the jank dream right now. They're in their wheelhouse. They drew 4 lands. All their cards are coming together. Everything's working perfectly, and they're just kind of teeing off right now, having a great time. So, all right. So, soak up some damage. Kill the huge Brawler. All right, let's go. Hey, now.
What you gonna do, Zephyr?
It's big.
What you gonna do, mate?
It's really big.
So, so where can it get more damage from? Why do we need to throw the 8/8 underneath it as well?
So they have 3 mana here with the Kami, and they can exile the Gallic Readers, which will give +2/+2 more. And then that is it. But like, so 25. So we would take 20 and just die from the trample. Yeah. And then also just like, even if we get to like 3 or 4, once we're so low that they can just like attack with everything or have this next trample or kill us too, we just want to like make the block now. So
through that.
So I go to 9, and that thing dies. This thing falls off, and it's still a creature. It's definitely possible we should have killed the Sash with the Nissa and not made a token. That's on me, but.
Poo-poo happens.
All right, and then we say go. We draw a Dread Knight. So this is the card that can draw a card, a BRB creature. We're going to draw a card here and try and get out of this. So let's pay 1 life and draw a card. And we draw another land. So I think we're just dead.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, I mean,
we're done.
We might be able to survive. I'm just going to scoop to save time. So maybe we might be able to survive one more turn, but whatever. So good for them.
No
you know, they did their thing, get the thing done. And again, that's kind of like, you know, the mid-range decks struggle a little bit because they do need to have the right answers at the right times. But Did we have fun?
Yeah.
I had fun. It was a good time. They did a good job. So, off mid-range, onto the next deck. 'Cause that was really long. I want to show you the ramp deck. So this is probably one of the most inherently powerful decks. Sort of the opposite
what is it?
Of
Green red.
I'm sorry, what?
What? Green white.
Is a 5-color deck.
Oh, we're doing a 5-color. Ooh.
Right. So it's base green white. So most of the cards you can see are obviously green and white. And the goal of this deck is to utilize spells that kind of ramp, and there's a big, kind of sweepers, kind of just like kill stuff, get mana, buy time until you play Atraxa, which is one of the most powerful creatures in the format. This is a 7-mana creature, 7/7 flying, vigilance, death touch, lifelink. So almost unbeatable if it's already in play. Then when it comes into play, look at your top 10 cards and take 1 card of each type and draw it. So it's basically just like 7/7 lifelink flying that draws you 5 cards, which is insane, honestly. So that's the end game. Also, it says there's a migration card here. This makes a 3/3 for each land type you have. This is a domain deck. So domain's an ability that cares about your land types. And this deck is playing these tri-lands. So these are all lands that have 3 types and tap for 3 colors, but come in tapped. So these 12 lands fuel the domain stuff. And then the Herd Migration can find a land also, as the channel ability. It can go away and find a land or make beasts. The Binding here costs less for each land type you have. So optimally it costs just 1 white mana to kill anything. And you have cards of bind lands like the Stomper and the Invasion. Sweepers like Sunfall, one of the best cards here, which exiles all the creatures and then makes a token that will turn into a creature that's the size of all the things that died. So like you kill 5 creatures and make a 5/5, which is insane. Angel gains life, kills things. It's just a really powerful deck, honestly. I think this deck's awesome. This is like my team that played at Worlds. And now they added the card Cavern of Souls because both Atraxa and the Angel are both angels. And this makes it so your opponent can't counter your Atraxa, which is one of the best ways to beat it. So, very powerful.
Yes.
This is the kind of deck where this is the exact opposite of mono red. This is a deck that is playing for the long game. This deck has inevitability ability over almost everybody in the late game, so it just must survive at all costs and make it there, and if you do, you will win. So the polar opposite of mono red. So that's fun.
Deck to the air, man. This is exciting. I like decks like this. Obviously, they can fall a bit more flat, right? If you have a bad start and they have an aggro deck or something like that, but there's some very cool potential.
Yeah, the thing is that, like, I mean, obviously you're the amateur backer, right? So your opponents are not going to play perfectly. They're not going to play super high level Magic or whatever. And if they're playing an aggro deck and don't play optimally, and they give you an extra 1 or 2 turns, this is the kind of deck that will just hammer you for it. Where like, you gave me 1 extra turn, sorry, Sunfall, kill your creatures. You gave me 1 extra turn, sorry, here's Atraxa, so this could be a good choice, honestly. So, opening hand's got 3 lands. We have the green, white, red land, and the white land, and then Cavern makes any color, but only for angels. It cannot cast our other spells. Then we have 2 big angels, the Binding, which costs less for each domain, which is currently 3 less. And then the Invasion, which will get 2 lands from your deck. It's a battle. Have you seen a battle before?
Yes, yeah, but it's been a while.
Okay, so yeah, basically, it's sort of like a Planeswalker you play for them, because you can attack it, and then it turns into a creature when you win the battle. So, most important, though, is it gets 2 lands. It gets you faster mana and the right colors. That being said, this hand is really slow. But I think this is a keep, probably. You gotta have faith in your deck a little bit. We have a lot of good draws here. Any land that helps to make the other colors will make the Binding cheaper. So, and there we go, perfect. So we drew the Proving Ground. So this is our swamp.
Okay.
So now we have Swamp, Mountain, Forest, Island. Plains. No island yet. And now this will cost 2 at least. So we'll play the Garden first.
Proving Ground goes down first, or?
So we play the Garden first because it makes white. And now if we were to draw one of the lands that's also an island and a swamp, this thing would cost 1 mana. And we can cast it off of our 1 mana we have right here.
Okay, sick.
So that's all just the Steve 2 stuff. So they play a Veteran. This card gains life and some beaters. They got the Hopeful guy. And they have a Skrelv here, which is a pretty annoying card. This is a card that can protect their other creatures by tapping. So that's annoying. So we draw Forest. Good news is their hand's kind of slow. These are all 1/1s, so their clock isn't that fast. We can't really do anything here because all of our cards are too clunky, so we just play with tap land. Play this, and say go. Alright, so Their hand went from being not so good to really good. They played the Adeline. So, makes a token.
Yeah, this is a really good start for them.
Yeah, so now normally this would be okay because we have the Leyline Binding, which could kill the Adeline, but the Skrull is protecting it. So we can't actually kill it, which is the problem. So we're in a bit of trouble here. So only card we can cast is the Binding. Can't cast the other cards yet. We'll play land.
Do they need to pay land to protect Adeline, or?
No, so the ability here is a white Phyrexian, kind of like the Nissa was, where you could pay white or pay 2 life. So it's basically just 2 life to tap it, protect it. Yeah, so.
Gosh, that's dirty, man.
Right, so we got to cast the Binding. It's the only card we can cast. We got to hit the Skrull. It's the only card we can hit. So we'll just Binding. We'll just do it. I guess income. So, yeah. So best time to do it is in combat. Why do you think that is? So I want to cast it now. I want to cast it on their turn. I want to cast it once they start to attack. Why would that be?
Right. So, do they need to tap the Scribe to block, or
to use the ability, you mean?
Yeah, to use the ability. They need to tap for that, right?
Correct.
So I guess there is a chance they're silly and they attack with it and then they can't block.
Yep, it's that. And it's also the fact that it's legendary. So the Adeline counts all your creatures in play for its power. So if we kill it beforehand, they could just play a new one and make it bigger. Whereas once we're in combat, they can't play a new one. So it's just a small thing. It's fine.
Yes. Okay, that makes perfect sense. That's cool.
So, cast the Binding. We're taking a ton of damage here. But this will shrink the Adeline. Adeline makes token. And you can see Adeline is the ultimate snowball card. Makes token, gets bigger, kills really, really fast. So, take a ton. We're at 6. And I think we're still alive. Barely. We'll see what happens. All right. They don't do anything else. So now what do we do?
So I guess we have to pull out the Archangel this turn. We don't have mana for a kicker, so we've just got to pull it out. That's all we can do, right?
Yeah, I guess it's not really a hard question, but yeah. So play the Archangel. It has lifelink, so we have a block here on the big creature. We can gain a little life also, and then we're just trying to draw Sunfall or Wrath Specs. If they have a kill spell, we're dead. So good draw on their part. I could have seen a mulligan maybe. If we knew we were playing as mono white, we definitely would have mulliganed, obviously. Due to the matchup. But is what it is. So
yeah, we had a slower hand. They had a really clean start. Like, it is what it is, right?
For sure. Yeah. If they didn't have the Skrelv and we could have killed the Adeline on that first turn, we would have had like 2 or 3 more turns. But they had it, so do it more. And that is sort of like, the ramp deck, a fast aggro draw can get the ramp deck, but it does have like a ton of tools. It has multiple, sweeper effects, a lot of life gain, pretty good removal, but, if they stumble, you can stumble for sure. So there's Sunfall we're looking for. So we got 3 lands. We got the Sunfall, which is a sweeper, the Binding. This card here is pretty cool. Up the Beanstalk. 2-mana enchantment. You draw a card when you play it, and then you draw a card when you play a card that costs 5 or more. So a lot of card draw, and the rampy thing. How are we looking here?
We've got red, blue, green, and white land. We don't have the swamp, but that's okay. We've got the Leyline Binding. I think this is definitely a keep.
Yep, that's great. So what land are we playing
control,
first?
Right?
What's up?
Plenty of control as well, with the Sunfall as well available.
Yeah, good sweepers, good card draw, ready to go. So what land are we playing first?
Well, we want to play one of the ones that's tapped straight away.
Mm-hmm.
They both provide green, so it's whether we want red or blue, right?
Yep.
I don't know the deck well enough to know what the advantage of either would be. I'd just pick one randomly.
So our goal is to maximize our domain, right? So to make our binding as cheap as possible.
We want blue because we've already got a mountain then, right?
Exactly. So we're probably playing Beanstalk next turn and drawing a card. We'll see. So mountain, or we could just play a tap land too. So
yeah, one or the other.
All right. So our opponent plays a Kellen. This is an adventure creature. It searches for an aura or equipment card, puts it in the hand, and then the creature itself has double strike, and then you got a card that gives the creature a buff and will draw cards if it hits us. So setting a big setup play. So we draw Herd Migration. This is the card that can spend 2 mana to channel and go find a basic land and gain some life. So what's the thought here?
So you're saying we can channel it? Sorry.
Yep. So it costs 2 mana. Discard it, and you can go search for a basic land, and then gain 3 life.
Oh. Okay, but then we don't get the card. Yeah, I think we probably want to do that because we don't really have any other good options.
We got the Beanstalk. So I think we want to draw a card first. So right now we have a random card or a guaranteed land. We don't need a guaranteed land yet. We still have a land for next turn.
Okay.
We still cycle it next turn too. Let's play with a draw card and see what happens. So if we're given the option to draw a card or do something else that's similar to drawing a card, we want to draw the card first just to have the information of like, okay, now I know I need this or I know I need that.
Draw first, get the info. Yeah.
This is fun. All right, so they're like a Voltron deck. They're trying to build like one really big, powerful creature, which is honestly pretty good against us, realistically. So this is a double striker. Whenever they target it, it connives, meaning they will draw a card and discard a card. If they discard a non-land, it gets bigger. And double strike's obviously powerful to pump. This thing can pump it, but it's important to note that they didn't cast it yet. So there are a lot of spells that can protect your creatures also, which can be pretty powerful as far as, they can keep their creature alive and so on and so forth. So that's kind of scary, honestly. So we have the Binding. We might be able to kill it. We might not. We have another Beanstalk and then the Garden. And what do you think?
I think I'd probably Beanstalk just to get the card draw, but I'm pretty iffy on this.
So I think the goal here is that thinking about being flexible and then what we actually need right now. We don't need more cards. We have 7 cards in our hand. We're drawing. This is not a matchup where we need to draw a bajillion cards. We should just stay alive, So we have the Binding, which is available to cast right now, and the Cycle on the Migration. So if they give us a target, we'll cast Binding. And if we feel we need to use it, and if not, we'll Cycle and we'll get the mana. Also, it's important to note that they're also playing for us too, right? So they need to respect the things that we have. They might be more hesitant to go for it with our mana open. So they might just slow down a little bit too, in which case we have a thing to do as well, which is cycle this. So they cast the Research, which is going to pump this. They'll draw a card, it hits us, and they'll connive too. So now we have the option to play the Binding and try and kill it, or we can just kind of chill.
I'd do the Binding.
So this is a hard one. This is honestly the kind of thing that requires a lot of like knowledge of just like general Magic things. So the best thing you do here to do is just do nothing. So if we go for the Binding and they re-up us something else, now they've upped twice, and we lost out on the exchange. Whereas now, if we wait, we're taking a hit here, which sucks. This is pretty bad for us. But we kind of need a land anyway. We're building up to a Wrath, which they can't protect against or whatever. And like, this sucks. But like, I think we should just chill here. And just cycle a link. Mostly because we also need to land too. So take the hit, take a small hit. Don't let them get the extra 1 up on us when we cast our spell. Either make them go for it or just kind of do our thing. So this is bad for us because if they have ways to protect the creature or counter our spells, they're doing a lot right now. But it is what it is. So they say go. They had 6 cards in hand. We're gonna cycle this. We're gonna get a Swamp, so full domain, and then hopefully we'll find a way to play multiple spells this turn too. So get our Swamp. We still have white. We already have white for Sunfall, which is good. Get the Swamp. And tap. And we draw a Forest. So not ideal, but
yeah, not.
We've got options here. We also have 2 Sunfalls too. So, thoughts?
I think we'll probably play the Swamp. That gives us more domain, and we've got already access to every color now. In terms of what we can do next, is it worth doing the Zend? I mean, it's either Zendikar. We could pull out the Archangel. I'd just play one of those, probably the Archangel.
So I think our goal is thinking about what we're gonna do on our next turn, right? So we were just talking about how we're gonna get re-upped. We have the re-up now. We have Binding on their turn into Sunfall on our turn. So I think we're gonna hold up the Binding. So we'll play the Beanstalk, draw a card. Mostly just doing this because we can. We just spare mana. We draw a card, and we'll say go. And now our intent is we're going to fight with the Binding, and make them use whatever thing they have, and then go to our turn with Sunfall. Now there is a card called Slip Out the Back that will phase it out, which means we can Sunfall it, but we can't really do a lot against that, honestly. So it kind of is what it is, I guess. But so they're gonna move to combat. This is like a really hard game. So now we need to decide if we're going to play it now or play it later. Also, we're drawing 2 cards here too.
I think we probably would just play it now, stop them from drawing the cards, right? So their hand is full actually. So
Yeah, they got 7 cards. Yeah, I think I agree. Like it's really tough. Let's draw the beanstalk, which is kind of cool too. I didn't mention that. So the binding costs. It still costs 6, quote unquote, even though it costs 1. So you draw off the beanstalk forward, which is great. So they play an escape, gives it hexproof. So they stopped our thing, which is fine. We draw some cards. It's fun.
Third up the beanstalk. Let's go.
Now the cool thing is that they actually screwed up here. So they should have responded to the ability of the binding targeting the virtuoso. Now our binding comes in and it targets the enchantment instead. So mistake on their part. Right, because the binding is not a spell; it's an enchantment.
So they should have waited for us to target.
Exactly, and they actually have a slip out the back also. So that's honestly really good for us. So
they did what I would have done in their shoes. I would have been like, "What? Why didn't it work? What? Oh no, I did it too early."
Right. So they play Skrelv, the protection guy, and they play it slip out the back. So this card makes so the creature phases out until your next turn. It means it basically just kind of like goes into the void. Nothing can happen to it, and then it'll come back on their next turn. So if I cast Sunfall here, it won't kill it, obviously, which is bad. The problem is they played Skrelv also. So now he can't binding it on their turn either, which is kind of tough. Also only 2 white. It's 19. Alright, so it's hard to ask you what to do. Also, I'm still figuring it out. Also,
no, but you just think out loud if you can. Otherwise, think in your head because this is a very complicated situation.
All right, so we're gonna cast a binding on their turn. Try and force issue on the Skrelv at least, or force some kind of issue on something, and then the invasion wants to give us a bunch of lands for we can do more stuff next turn. So, not a great shape here. They only have 3 cards left, thankfully, but get some lands. We'll get extra white, so we can use our Sunfall. Extra green for Stomper, and. I'm gonna say go. Again, Skrelv is very annoying because it protects it also, which is kind of crappy for us, but we also might just die here, honestly. It's definitely a reasonable chance. One thing we can do is, like they forced us to do by accident last turn, we can just binding and target the combat research, not the Illuminator. So, this is the thing that we'll draw cards or whatever, although it's still gonna deal damage to us or whatever. This is double strike 2. Yeah, we're in bad shape, honestly, I'll tell you. So... I think we, 2, 3. I'm just gonna do that. Yeah, sure. I'll cast Binding. We might just die here, but we'll target the research. They don't draw the cards, and then hope our Sunfall works next turn.
Oh my god.
We got 4 of them.
Sunfalls.
So the good news is that some of the counterspells in the format are soft counterspells. So they say like counter this spell unless you pay 2. So the extra mana is actually useful. So they're going to slip it out the back again. This is kind of weird because by slipping it, they're not dealing any damage to us. So we can't Sunfall, but, it's like we're just not taking 7, not drawing any cards. So, interesting. Now, it's important to know also Skrelv doesn't just protect. It also makes it so things can't be blocked by a color either. So if I were to play the thing that makes a bunch of green 3/3s, they could just give it can't be blocked by green stuff and attack, which is tough. So, alright. So, 9 cards in hand. 4 Sunfalls, obviously. A little excessive, but we can Sunfall to kill these. And then they have 2 cards left. So I think our goal here is I want to kill these 2 things and then play a blocker to not die, basically. This has double strike, which is a lot. Could also play an Angel and kill these 2 things as well. It's like fine. Let's see, it's double strike. 8 more tricks. Block this. That's more ways to go wrong. 4, 3. All right, Chad's talking me into the Angel. We're gonna Angel, so we're gonna try and kill both of these creatures and have a blocker for this thing. I guess they could say the Kellen. Never mind. I'm sorry. Chat's dumb. Never listened to chat. The rope's here though, so we're gonna do it. All right, so.
Twitch chat forever bronze.
Yeah.
Oh, Twitch chat.
All right, so we'll target both of these. They save the Kellen. Actually, this is a mistake. I should target them. They have protection left, so this is fine. So they've actually made an error here. Unless they have two things. They have two things. We're just dead.
Yeah.
No, they were just dead. Yeah, they had just so many cards that were just dead anyway. So yeah, I mean, this is the kind of matchup where like all their cards are so cheap, and we're relying on one or two big things that they can protect it with the one small thing and just kind of keep going. So
it just don't work.
Oh, you're still alive though. Nope. Yes. Nope. Yeah, still alive. This card pumps it and gives it flying, but obviously I'll get straight as a trample too. A lot of words in that card.
Draw a card. Vigilance, trample, lifelink, indestructible, haste, double strike.
Yeah. Again, Voltron deck. They got the idea is to make one really big creature and protect it over and over again. So
yeah.
I think we're still alive. We block here. I don't know. We're gonna see what happens. This thing can go on here. This pumps this. Yeah. So they could put this on the Kellen. It already has double strike, but once this thing is enchanted, it pumps up this thing also. 6. Yeah, I think our opponent could just kill us here. Unless they do anyway, but... Alright, they're not going to kill us. Cool. So... Important to note that we don't gain any life from lifelink, because our creature never dealt damage because of first strike.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if they had put this on here and attack with both, they just won the game. So... We'll take that. Alright. We have 1, 2, 3... Alright, I mean, just playing Sunfall, saying a prayer. They have a trick, we're dead. Draw some cards.
Sunfall, let's go!
Alright, invasion. Land. Alright, I mean, that's pretty good for us, so... We'll play our little stompy guy. This is a 4/4 that can only attack or block if you have 7 or more lands, but it goes and gets a land too. So it's a good rampy card. Also really good with the battle, because you can play it and then attack the battle on curve, which is nice. So, and we also get our little incubating thing, which is cool too. And I think we're good. Yeah, now the game's over. So we did it. We weathered the storm, and now we're there. Play this thingy, make a bunch of things, flip the thingy over, attack. Yeah. Sweet. All right. So, again, I think our opponent definitely helps out a little bit there. But we'll take it. And Navis attacks this, win the battle, yada, yada, yada. And the game's... They're at 38. This is my concern a little bit with the structure as far as life totals go. Because, like, life totals are not a very good indicator in Magic of, like, who's actually winning. You know?
Yeah, so how does that work? So do we just stop after a certain number of turns, or what?
No, it just at the end of the game, like the difference in life will be the tiebreaker. So
it's just it's how much life you have left over, right?
So basically, just like
right,
when you lose the game, or if you concede, you go to 0. And they're also making it so you cannot go over 20. So I can't just sit here and like keep gaining life over and over again and like get myself to 100.
Okay, it would only count as 20 max.
Right, exactly. Right. So
okay.
The Traxa, I mean, this game's just like super over. So Angel, you see what Traxa does. Comes into play.
Chat says we could still die to the flashback. Monka-S.
What's up?
Chat says we could still die to the flashback.
Oh, on the Angel Fire? I mean, we have blockers and stuff too, but yeah, get this, whatever, just cards. And alright, sure. Draw a bunch of cards, yada yada yada. Attack for a bunch, yada yada yada.
This is where you gotta quiz me here, Jim. Who's ahead on the board? You know,
yeah.
You'd ask me some questions.
What card do you play?
Some hard ones.
Which one? Pick a card, any card.
Which one of the 300 cards? I think we Sunfall again.
So at 11, just say go, just go hand or whatever, and just go to the next game. So.
How many cards do you have? It's like 20.
I have to discard 6 of them, so.
That's amazing.
7. So yeah, I have 14 cards. Yeah, so say go. As long as we have bindings up, we can't lose because they're obviously instant removal. So. There's a spot in StarCraft where you can just A move and just like walk away, but you gotta keep playing in the space bar here. So yeah, so there is some weird some weird incentives as far as like you can just gain life in the tournament instead of winning. So like if you're ahead and have a shielder in play, might be right to like not kill your opponent and just sit there until you're up 20 life and then kill them kind of stuff, which is a little weird, but we'll see what happens. So. Couple more cards, yeah. So they actually like came sort of close to killing us, but they had to be 2 bindings also. So all right, so that was a long one, obviously. So that's the ramp deck. So we got one more deck left. We'll do the what deck are we gonna do? Where is it? Come on now. We're gonna do the this deck. So I think this deck's actually a pretty cool choice. This is an aggro deck, but it's a synergy aggro deck. So kind of like the counters that we played against, where they're aggressive, but they're not just playing like 2/2s for 2 and trying to burn you out. They're trying to put their cards together in a certain way and do like really powerful stuff. So this deck is based around enchantments. So all the cards trigger off enchantments. We've got Visitors, a 1/1, play an enchantment, buff a creature. This Naturalist is a lifelink creature, which is obviously very good to buff. And it's also an enchantment, so it counts for enchantments, and it makes all your enchantments cheaper. This card's a creature, gets bigger, play an enchantment, gets bigger. The Reign of Truth here will buff a creature for all your enchantments and artifacts twice, and then turn into a big creature. This card is as big as all of your enchantments are. This card, play an enchantment, buff a creature. So just kind of like, I'm going to do this linear thing, and all my cards work well together. And then there's a little bit of interaction also. Ossification will kill a creature. It's an aura that kills a creature. And then it also has an aura here called Audacity, which is kind of cool. It gives +2/+0 and gives trample. So this deck is really good at like forcing damage through. And because it has the lifelinky creatures, it should be pretty good against the aggro decks too. So between this thing having lifelink and this thing having lifelink and the ability to grow them a lot, this should be a pretty good deck against the aggro decks. So any questions here before we start?
No, let's get straight into it, man. This one looks awesome.
Let's go. All right, so one more game. And I think this deck is a pretty good choice, actually, like looking over the deck list. Because, again, it's sort of like the aggressive deck that's kind of linear, but good against the other aggressive decks. This is the kind of deck that would be bad against a control deck. Because its cards work together like Legos, if the control deck can kill the key card here and the kill key card there, it can kind of fall apart. Whereas if you're playing the red deck or the white deck, your cards are mostly interchangeable. So you kill this, whatever, I'll just play this instead. So
that makes sense.
All right, so what do you think about the stand?
Perfect starting lands in that we've got 2 green whites, 1 white. The Naturalists are a 2-drop, Kami's a 2-drop, and then we've got a 3-drop in Calyx. I don't know how the combos work yet, really. We don't have an enchantment yet. Wait, enchantment creature. Does that mean it counts as an enchantment and a creature? Ooh. Oh, okay, cool. So they are enchantment. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, that's a really, really good starting hand, right?
Yep, hand's great. Obviously, lacking a 1-drop, it's still really good. We're on the play. I think a Naturalist will help make all of our cards super cheap, too, which is nice, so we can really kind of chain off and go nuts. All right, so they play, it's like a Saki land. It goes to get a basic and you get a life. We draw a 1-mana enchantment, which is actually probably the best possible draw, because the Calyx here cares about, Calyx says it is Constellation, which means that whenever an enchantment comes into play, it buffs something. And then it says whenever this or an enchanted creature deals damage to a player, you get to copy one of your enchantments, which is insane, obviously. So, very powerful
ridiculous
card. And now we have the curve of Naturalist on 2. And then turn 3, we can play Calyx for 2 mana and play the Aura, which is insane. So
yeah. Oh, that's ridiculous. Heck yeah.
Also, good news is they have a Forest in play, which green doesn't really kill things usually. So, ideally, they'll play some sort of like creature here or whatever, and we get to go nuts next turn. All right, blue-green. Okay. It's interesting. So they play an island and they say go, and they've played a courtyard here, which gets a mountain, a forest, or plains. So, weird start. 7 cards in hand. There are blue counter spells that cost 2 mana. There are actually a number of them in the format. So this is the kind of spot where you got to go. Spice hits a little bit like, all right, what's going on here? Why are they doing this? What's happening? You know, so are they going to interact or not? And then we're going to make our play, kind of hedging our bets around like what would be, you know. So right now, you know, jamming our best card might not be the best idea. We can do other things though that are still good. So play land. What do you think? There's a lot of cards.
I'd be an idiot and I'd just jam out the best one. But since we're not doing that, yeah, we can go throw out.
I mean, there honestly could be an argument for that. Like for that's definitely not necessarily the wrong answer. But all right, the clock's going. I'm just going to play the Visitor and this guy. So I'm going to play the Visitor, which buffs our creatures, and play the Naturalist, which gets things cheaper. Still a good forward attack. You know, you can play this thing, put a counter here, do some stuff. Still good, still applying pressure. You know, you never want to do nothing. your goal is when you're trying to play around things, your goal is to like, okay, let me hedge, make a play that like if they interact with me, it isn't that bad, but I'm still doing the most things possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now we've got, what does Kami do again?
This guy grows if you play an enchantment. It has trample.
Okay, that's it.
And then if it's in the graveyard and an enchantment dies, it'll come back to your hand.
Oh, that's delicious.
So they play a third land, just say go. So again, super sketchy. Not sure what's going on here.
If we play the naturalist, does that mean we have a -3 reduction on casting enchantments?
Yes, but only for the generic cost, not for the colors.
Okay.
So it's mostly redundant to have more than one in play, honestly.
Yes. Okay, cool.
All right.
I don't know how many board clearances or things there are, so I'd love you to just talk me through whatever you think.
Honestly, I don't know either because they're just playing. This is a very odd combination of cards they've played. We're just going to attack. Like, not going to commit anymore.
Awesome. Glad to see so many people coming over, by the way, or this whole stream kind of going, oh, a big fan of Jim, and didn't realize that we kind of knew each other a little bit. So it's awesome to see the crossover between Magic and StarCraft.
Yeah, I've been saying the same in my chat the entire time. Saying like, oh, I love StarCraft, that's my game. So, oh wow, they're doing stuff here. So this is totally off the radar. I have no idea what they're doing. They play cards as draw 2, discard 2. Usually means they're going to be doing graveyard stuff. And they discard a Silver Scrutiny and a Farewell. So Farewell is the best card of the entire format against us. It can destroy all enchantments, creatures, artifacts, destroys everything. And it also exiles it. So all of our graveyard things won't happen either. So that's the worst card in the format for us. They also played a Wrath also. So they play the Populate. This kills all the creatures. And then if I have a multi-card creature, I draw a card. So not ideal for us. But we get this guy back, which isn't too bad. And now I get to do multiple things here. We're just going to play the Kami guy again and play this guy again. And this is where things get really interesting. So we've mostly played against aggressive decks so far. This is a deck that has, you have to play around their removal spells. It's a control deck. So this is a spot where you need to kind of make sure you're pacing yourself the whole way through, applying just the right amount of pressure, but not too much pressure. And it's honestly like, I think for a lot of less experienced players, they find playing against control decks really, really frustrating. Because their opponents are just like, play a card, kill all your creatures, counter your spell, counter your spell, counter your spell. But it's actually really fun to play against because you get to dictate the pace of the game and you get to make them play things the turns they don't want to play them. So you kind of like force them to use that Wrath or make them counter thing they don't want to counter. You know, you don't just jam your best thing every turn. You kind of find the openings. An important thing also is to try and play, you know, if they have a really good card draw spell that costs 4, right? And they want to play this card draw spell. On the turn they would cast that, you play some really important card and make them deal with that instead. So you get to dictate the pace of the play, which is really, really cool. And it's fun, it's cool. So they Wrath again. This thing comes back. This card's obviously excellent against the Wrath, which is kind of cool. We get to play this thing again, and we'll just play Calyx this time. So now we're just rebuilding every time, which is fine. Get a counter, do the thing. These sort of creature augmentation, I'll put it here. Effects are pretty bad against decks like this because you're exposing yourself a lot. Where most of the time they're going to kill all the creatures or just say go all their mana up, and it's not. They just say go. So now I have to decide: am I going to risk augmenting my creature, having them killing it in response? That's awful for us, you know. So when do I want to go in? When do I not want to go in, etc. And a card like this is really bad because this card commits to one creature. It's an enchantment. It goes on exactly one creature. And if they kill it, I lose it. So. 6 cards in hand. They miss multiple land drops now. We're trying to figure out how best to pace things. There's a Planeswalker that can exile attackers, which is kind of annoying. Don't want to get Wrath again. Again, a lot of info. I'm just going to kind of play and talk through it. So I think we're going to... Yeah. And again, this is like the really hard, really fun part of Magic is like, okay, how do I play around all the things they might have? I have to know the format really well. I have to, you know, pace myself, still apply pressure, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to play with Audacity, play it here, see what happens. Just buffs. And they will... They bin it, so that's bad for us, obviously. This card gets rid of it, puts it in our deck. It goes in our deck, too, so we can't get it back in the graveyard either, which kind of sucks, but whatever. So We got wrecked there. This card also will draw a card when it dies, but it didn't actually die because it wasn't in play yet. So that was us getting totally shit stomped. And then we're gonna play. I'm just gonna keep playing everything. So now we're tapped out. We can play everything. So let's play this. We'll play this. Pump this guy out of attack. And then put a counter here.
Let's go.
So now we're basically all in. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, we have to copy a thing now, too. So now I get to copy an enchantment, too. We'll copy this thing. And yeah, cool.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, a little confusing,
seen that,
but
two of the same saga going at the same time. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, when this card works, it's really, really powerful. But if your opponent's able to kill it before you use it, it kind of sucks. So, but it's a really, really powerful effect. All right, so they play a land. They get a land, gain a little life. They are dead as shit on board. So they have to have something to stop us here. We draw the guy. So we're going to put 1 buff here and 1 buff here. And that should be... It's close to lethal. It's not quite, actually. And then now we have an 8/8. This thing is the size of all of your spirits and enchantments. I'm going to play this first, make it a 9/9. So now we have this guy's a lethal attacker. This guy isn't lethal, but if he hits them, I copy an enchantment again. So, all right, so they draw 2, discard 2, gain 2 life. So now they won't die unless if they can kill one of these, but I think we're probably good here. We'll see. The worst case scenario is they've
only got 2 mana, right? They've got 1 white, 1 green open. What can they
so
do?
if they have a way to kill one of these creatures, they don't. Cool. The fear would be, though, so again, kind of hand reading, figuring out, like, okay, what do they have in their hand? What do they have in their hand? You tell me. Just a ballpark. Not the exact cards. What kind of cards do they have in their hand?
There is a gigantic card. There's like a 6-cost removal or something that has some special condition to make it cheaper. I don't know.
Right.
Basically
some big
expensive
stuff.
Cards, right?
Right. And they've already discarded a farewell to their mending before. So when they cast the mending, I don't know, 5 turns ago, they said these cards aren't good enough for me. So that means they might have already had one of these. This is obviously the best card that you could possibly have against us. It kills all the enchantments. It exiles everything, so I can't even recur it. This is like this is the card that keeps this deck from being a really good deck. And they chose to discard it on turn 4. So they probably have another copy in their hand, if I had to guess. So if they got one more land, they would have gotten us. They stumbled a bit, which is good for us, so it's cool. So
nice.
Cool. All right, so
that's cool, man. That deck, I love it how we went and we had like the most complicated game ever just before that, and it was like, oh my god. And then you go to that one, and that deck seems absolutely, utterly simple and basic in comparison, just because the previous one is so, 5-color madness, especially in the situations we were in, where I was like, oh my god, there's so much computation going on.
Yeah, it's definitely it's funny because like I feel like every deck's complicated. Like just like trying to think about explaining, it's like, oh my god, like Magic's so complicated. Magic's a really complicated game. But yeah, I think this deck is definitely one of the ones that we should definitely consider for sure. Kind of straightforward, aggressive. Probably the mono red deck also, and then maybe we'll do one more. But for now, a pretty good overview, I think. Any last like parting questions before we go?
No, I think this was really great, man. I think especially, I mean, you kind of showed them in order of complexity for the most part, which was really nice. The red mono is obviously very simple, definitely down my alley. But the humans deck looks interesting. The mid-range deck, I'm sure I would make some misplays on, but I think I would like enjoy playing it and generally be not absolutely terrible with it. And that last deck there, this green white, I would also definitely make a few misplays even after practicing a bunch of games with it, but I think I'd mostly start getting the combos together pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think the good thing about a deck like this is if you have a little time to practice, the linear decks, they're kind of like build orders in StarCraft, right? Where if you just practice one build a ton, you end up being a really good, 2-base roach push player. You might not be a great StarCraft player, but you're really good at that one linear thing. And Magic decks are also like that, where the linear decks, you can get really good at a certain deck and not necessarily need to have the best Magic instincts. You just kind of get good at this one thing and you just do it, which is cool too. So this deck's kind of like that. Whereas the mid-range decks and the control decks are a little more like, I just need the general sense of the game to be better at it. That's kind of like what I do with StarCraft, honestly, where I don't play that much. I probably just know one build order and just do it. But I try and play the fun reactive game, I'm good and lose a lot, but because I'm not naturally good enough at the game to be reactive. So I probably would more if I was doing the linear thing, but I said more fun than the other thing. But it crosses over into Magic very, very clearly, where there are definitely decks like this that are super linear, you can kind of learn and be really good at, and then the ones like mid-range and control are a little more like you just need to kind of have a better game sense overall. So I think that like if you're going to practice on your own, I would say mono red, I would say the green-white deck, and then the third deck, maybe the green-black deck, maybe the humans deck. Play it by ear. We'll discuss more whatever we're going to do, but we'll leave us a surprise also for all the viewers on Monday as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Are you streaming tomorrow, by the way?
Tomorrow is Sunday. I'm not, no.
Good. You actually do have a day off. You're a human. That's nice. You just like, especially with the season ending the other day, and I was like, man, how much is Jim streaming right now? I was like, this mad dog.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a week too. This week I also hired a new assistant and bought a car. So
oh shit.
Yeah, it's always crazy here. I mean, I have my 1-year-olds running around freaking screaming and throwing things everywhere. It's chaos over here. It's absolute pandemonium. But yes, tomorrow's day off. We're getting a Christmas tree and stuff, and we're fine doing that and so on and so forth. So tomorrow's the day off. So
good on you, man. Awesome. Well, I'll be getting some games in tomorrow as well as later tonight. But thanks for the stream. Thanks so much for having me on. Thank you, everyone of Jim's viewers, for putting up with having a noob there on the back seat and a bit more low-level explanations from Jim, just explaining some basics. But I gotta say, mad coaching skills. I love it when someone's like really passionate and deeply understanding something, but they're also like, I'm gonna try and pack as much information in as possible. I kind of felt like I was listening to myself. Sometimes I'm very similar when I'm coaching StarCraft, where I'm like, okay, we are going to freaking cover a lot of just raw information in as short a time period as possible. And I'm just here like, oh, this is awesome. Just absorbing it all up. So well done, man. Thanks so much.
Sweet. Are you going to play on stream at all?
Play on stream? Probably not.
Okay.
Because tomorrow's my day off as well. So,
sweet. Okay.
So it should be good. But yeah, I mean, I look forward to streaming with you bright and early for me on Monday. So that'll be awesome.
Sweet. All right, yeah, so we'll talk to Discord, and we'll finalize next and stuff like that, and then we'll do it. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. Obviously, it's been a lot of fun. You folks will obviously appreciate it, I'm sure. And sweet. So we'll talk on Discord, and have a good have a good day, right? What time is it there?
Yeah, it's like 3 in the Arvo, so
sweet.
I am off, but I will chat. We'll do some strategizing later when you're done your stream, man.
Sounds great. Have a good one.
Good night, man.
All right, sweet. So, Gabe picked the rundown. A little longer than planned, actually, but kind of worked out well. And again, Rivals is going to be Monday, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Again, on Twitch Rivals Twitch channel. I'll be streaming my own side on my channel, but there'll also be coverage on that channel as well. And it should be a lot of fun. And it's so much information. Like, it's so funny because like we just don't think about it as like full time. It's as deeply entrenched Magic players, we like forget how much. Like, look at these fucking cards. Like, read these cards. It's insane. Like, look at this card. Like, there's just so much to take in. And like it's a lot at once. So props to Pig for sticking it out. Obviously, it's a lot to take in. But should be a lot of fun. Should be a cool event. And yeah, you two folks, we'll see you there. Like, comment, subscribe, do all your stuff, and peace.